The freedom to chase adventure starts with the right protection for your pet. Strap in with Seresto Flea and Tick Control Collar. Seresto provides 7 to 8 months of protection in a single application, giving you ultimate peace of mind. No monthly treatments, no mess, no grease and no smell. Just long-lasting, clinically proven protection against fleas and ticks, so you're ready for whatever adventure awaits. Strap in with Seresto. To find out more, visit seresto.co.uk.
Discover amazing prizes every week at winhappy.com, where there's always something huge up for grabs. From the latest tech to life-changing cash prizes and more. And get 25% off online entries with the code PODCAST. Don't miss out. Head to winhappy.com. The next big winner could be you. T's and C's apply. Promo code valid online only until July 7th.
Win big. Win happy.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Trywire.com. Kick high prices to the curb. Drive away with huge savings. It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard on a huge day of Scottish football. Celtic are 90 minutes away from winning the title as they head to Tannadice. When 3 o'clock rolls around, there's a head-to-head in the battle for third as Aberdeen take on Hibs. At the bottom, they all play each other: Hearts, Dundee, Motherwell, St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, Ross County. And who knows what the future holds for Rangers after a busy week, but the imminent future is St Mirren against Rangers in Paisley. I'm Gordon Duncan, and joining me today you have Gordon Dalziel, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins.
There is a road that leads to managerial immortality for Brendan Rodgers. If Celtic win the title at Tannadice today, then Brendan stands one game away from a treble that would put him into the club's folklore. No Celtic manager has ever won 3 trebles. Not Jock Stein, not Billy McNeil, not Martin O'Neill, not Neil Lennon. So that's what you call history making. But practicality comes first. He has to get a draw or a win at Tannadice today. Celtic have scored 10 goals in their last 2 games. Brendan Rodgers would settle for 1 today, so long as the other team didn't score.
Yeah, a feast of football all over the country, but the big one, Celtic just needing a point to wrap up that title at Tannadice. And it's funny how things work, isn't it? Over the years, it has been a ground where Celtic have had to go and win to get the job done on several occasions, and it's no different today. The players will be focused. They want to get this done and dusted as quickly as possible, and like Hugh says, get their minds on securing that treble. A big afternoon ahead.
Yeah, I think all eyes are on Tannadice, Gordon, for the early kick-off. I think Celtic will eventually go up there and get the job done. Will be interesting to see the team news when it comes in from Gabs. And then you look down at the 3 o'clock fixtures, all the way down. Brilliant games, really important games for everyone, even in the Championship and the lower leagues. A feast of football, as Mark Wilson quite rightly said.
And what about Mark Wilson, honestly?
I said I'm a good
swaggered in here this afternoon, walking on air, head barely fitting through the door.
Yeah, got all the answers.
It was amazing. We mentioned it. Hugh spilt his glass of wine. I was up off the settee shouting for Mark. You were getting excited. We've all become Partick Thistle fans.
I was trying to text him and have a glass of red wine at the same time when the second goal went in.
Tactical mastermind. Just a tweak
That's
here,
a
tweak here, a formation change there, a bit of a pep talk, try and get the referee to send the opposition off when they don't quite deserve it. Just make it all come together, and you two could get the results you need.
Yeah, right, but the only thing you've got to worry now is, obviously, if this man goes on to bigger and greater things which he's got to do in his management career, I'm off as well, because I gave him his first job and I'm sure he's going to look after me.
Well,
the next
last
job.
night I was getting texts of congratulations from all you, and yet, apart from yourself. So
funny that.
I was ready.
You must have been sleeping.
Anyway, we can get back to that later, because it will be a huge day in the Championship, and Partick Thistle certainly shook things up at the top and in the race for the playoffs last night. So well done again to Mark and Brian and co. Apologies, Falkirk fans, there's just that one hint of bias, but we'll slag them, we'll bring them back down to earth, and you might well win win the title next week. Anyway, so let's start with a potentially title winning day at Tannadice. Dundee United against Celtic. Gabriel is there.
Yeah, Gordon, good afternoon from, as you say, a potentially momentous day here in Dundee. All focus, of course, on the visitors at Tannadice. Can Celtic secure the point that makes them champions once again and get their 4th league title in a row, their 13th in the last 14 years, and of course a 55th overall, drawing them level with their eternal rivals Rangers, an arms race that seemed uncatchable just 2 decades ago. Well, Celtic themselves have seemed untouchable all campaign. They've dropped their standards with losses to Hibs, Rangers and St Johnstone over the past 6 weeks. That's what Brendan Rodgers said himself, and he was clearly not happy. But he's lit a fire under them. Celtic have picked up again as they aim to race over the finish line, and they've scored 5 in both of their previous matches. Now, Rodgers makes just 2 changes to the team, which won resoundingly at Hampden last weekend. Both of them are up top, with Jota and Nicholas Kuhn in on the wings for James Forrest and Adam Eder, who dropped to the bench. And it looks as close to a full strength 11 as Celtic can get right now. Viljami Sinisalo is in goal. It's a defence of Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liam Scales and Greg Taylor. Callum McGregor, Reo Hatate and Arne Engels are in midfield. Nicholas Kuhn and Jota are on the wings, with top scorer Dyson Maeda playing through the middle. The substitutes: Bain, Trusty, Forrest, Eder, McCowan, Schlupp, Bernardo, Ralston and Kenny. But of course, Gordon, as we know, there's 2 teams playing here today. It's been a brilliant return to the top flight for the hosts. Jim Goodwin men have taken everyone by surprise, and they are firmly in the top 6. They rallied recently to secure that berth, winning their last 3 matches, and now all eyes are on Europe. Any result today would be huge in their bid to be playing on the continent next season. Their team is as follows: Jack Walton in goal, Ryan Strain, Vichko Sivelj, Emmanuel Agdeboyega, Lucas Stevenson and Will Ferry, Craig Sibbald, Alan Campbell and Ross Doherty across the midfield, Glenn Middleton, Rory Payton supporting Sam Dalby up top. The substitutes: Richards, Trapanovsky, Mult, Babunski, Fotheringham, Van der Sande, Gallagher, Cleel Harding. The referee here, Don Robertson, and the VAR, Greg Aitken.
Well, Hugh, it all comes down to this: 38 games when it's all said and done, but obviously not quite finished that full complement yet. Celtic can wrap it up. We've known for a while it was going to happen, but today could be the day.
He's gone for the A team, first of all. Maeda, 33 goals this season through the middle. That's where he is most effective. Kuhn, early season contender for Player of the Year. Form off a cliff. Jota, back to Celtic, back in an emotional return to Celtic. Scored a good goal last weekend. We'd like to get another today to win the league. So Brendan Rodgers has gone for the A team, and they have to bring their A game, because Dundee United don't want Celtic having a party at their place. Dundee United's obligation is to win the match for Dundee United. It's a fantastic place, as Brendan Rodgers said earlier. Very emotional. The last time Celtic won the league there, 2 days after the passing of Tommy Burns, and Celtic secured the title for Gordon Strachan that night, and believe me, it was emotional. Another emotional day lies ahead.
Well, the team, it's not a bad couple of changes to bring in, is it? Jota and Kuhn to strengthen your side, and you know, the rest of the team takes care of itself, and again just shows you how fluid and how versatile Maeda is, that affords you to do that as a team. And Brendan Rodgers probably would have looked at the time just before Christmas when they went to Tannadice and there was that stalemate, and Celtic had loads of the ball but just couldn't break Dundee United down. I think that's why you see guys like Jota and Kuhn coming in. They're the guys that can pick those key passes. They actually can just eliminate a few opponents by breezing past them, and that might be needed today, because that Dundee United team, when you look through the personnel, they've got physicality up top, but in the middle of the pitch they've got good players that will clog it up. So you're going to need that wee bit of magic to get something. Yeah,
looking at it on paper, take the goalkeeper out of the equation here, that's his strongest 11 when they're in form. Now, I think they'll be looking for big responses from the wide areas. Kuhn and Jota, they were left out the last 2 games. Come on, sub at Hampden last weekend, so he's thrown the gauntlet down to 1 or 2 of them. I like Maeda, I'm like you, I like him through the middle. Listen, he contributes anywhere he plays. He's just that sort of player. He's going to win Player of the Year by a distance this year. He'll be looking for the goals. Look, it's a very strong Celtic team. It will be difficult. I agree with Mark. I think Dundee United will make it very difficult for them. I just think this is the day Celtic clinch it.
What do you think the motivation will be like, Mark, to get it done today rather than at wait? Of course, there's that other side of things where technically, if it wasn't to be today, you get the chance to win it at Ibrox, and I'm sure fans would love that and so on. But given there was the St Johnstone disappointment, given that it's gone on slightly longer than Brendan Rodgers would have liked, what will the motivation be like to do it today?
Of course, to do it today. I think everybody at the club, in any club, and the parallels are quite similar last night with Falkirk. You want to get over the line as quickly as possible because you've done most of the hard work, but quite often the hardest one is a game like today, where there is that tension on you and it's an away fixture, plus you've got Rangers round the corner. So I don't think they'll be thinking, oh, let's try and win the title at Ibrox. It's if they go to Ibrox and Rangers have already beaten them twice, it becomes a prolonged experience to get over the line. So this is so important that they start well to wrap it up.
You want to walk into Ibrox as the champions. It's as simple and straightforward as that. What will be will be. Barry Ferguson already has a win over Celtic. To his credit, he would love to do back-to-back wins over Celtic, but all of that is for next weekend. The job at hand here is to beat Dundee United. A draw, Celtic want to go over the line with style. A draw signifies, yes, you go over the line, but it's a bit of a struggle. A win, and in style, from a team who have scored 5 goals in each of their last 2 matches. That's what Brendan Rodgers is after today.
Interesting though, Gordon, if you were to handpick a fixture or a venue to try and get your title over the line in style, I don't think it would be this one. Dundee United have the best defensive record outside of Celtic and Rangers. Celtic already went up and drew 0-0 earlier this season. Dundee United have their own massive aims. I get why the headlines are about winning the title. This is a Dundee United side promoted just last season who could finish third.
This is why it's such a difficult afternoon for Celtic. They'll need to be at their best. I think Hugh touches on their last 2 performances, Gordon, especially at home against Kilmarnock, and then they blew away St Johnstone the minute they got the first goal in the semi-final. This will not be easy. Dundee United, they've been brilliant this season. They're going for that third place. Jim Goodwin will have them well organised. They'll have them fired up. They will be physical. They'll get it in there. They'll ask questions of Celtic. We're looking at the pictures coming in for Tannadice. There's no excuse whatsoever with the pitch. It looks absolutely brilliant. Good for good football this afternoon. I think we're in for a cracking game. I think it'll be very tight, but I've just got a feeling after the situation after St Johnstone, Brendan Rodgers making big statements, leaving out 4 key players, and not even bring them back for the semi-final. I think Celtic will be on this afternoon. Are
you surprised at the order of that in any way, Mark, where Brendan Rodgers does make a statement, kicks some backsides, whatever it is, leaves out Jota and Kuhn, plays Ida and Forrest, they blitz Kilmarnock, he then keeps them in for the semi-final despite the fact that really Adam Ida had a pretty quiet day against Kilmarnock, but he then scores in the semi-final. Are you surprised that they then come back out today?
Not really, just because the way the game planned out just before Christmas at Tannadice, where you're going to need something a bit special. And I think the Dundee United centre backs would be quite happy with Ida. Now I know Ida is a top player, Hugh probably disagrees, but he's big, he's physical, and I think the Dundee United backline be happy battling away because they've got that at both ends of the pitch. Their back 3 and their front 2 are big and physical. What they don't like to deal with is that pace and constant movement and people dropping into areas and dragging them about. So I think Brendan Rodgers would have always had that in mind. I think he knew that side last week against St Johnstone was the right side to pick, purely because of the Kilmarnock performance, but he knew they would get the job done. Let's be honest, where St Johnstone are on the table, big pitch at Hampden. Today it's going to be different. Tannadice is a tighter area, so he's going to need those more intricate players to unlock the door.
I think when he played against Kilmarnock, especially at home and then St Johnstone, he realised that they would have dropped off very deep, and that's what happened. There was no space for Maeda over the top, and I think that's why Ida come in to try and link up the play, gets his goal in the semi-final as well. This is different. Dundee United, I don't think will. I know they've got past records of it. I don't think Dundee United will camp in. right? I think Dundee United at home, going for third, they've secured their top 6. They've been brilliant this season. I think they'll have a go, and I think that gives me the space over the top.
Brendan Rodgers yesterday addressed the question of people who are saying tedious. It's a tedious business. Celtic just win everything and it doesn't reflect well on the rest of the game. Well, one man's tedium is another man's triumph, and Brendan Rodgers wants a triumph today that takes Celtic into the position of being one game away from a treble, and he has to do it with style. If people are calling it tedious, you have to go to Tannadice, play top class football, score goals, and say that's why we deserve to be champions.
But they've done that so many times, so I think it's just a nonsense, people saying it's tedious, and I think Brendan Rodgers will know that's nonsense, so I don't think there's any extra pressure on him. I'm sure he would love to do it, to say there you go, but you look at some of Celtic's performances this season, they have been outstanding. People have selected memories though when it comes to recency, when it's St Johnstone away and it's not quite firing all cylinders.
Do you think it's because Rangers, some of them were stacked a bit earlier in the season?
Aye, people forget about that.
It's like, because if you look at the points total that could be accrued, the goals scored column, which could be, boosted a lot between now and the end of the season, it has been a very convincing campaign.
And you know what, you'd rather start off like a train and blitz teams and get the feeling about the place so good and leave the others behind and then take your foot off the pedal a bit and then lift it again at the end of the season, rather than just be up and down every week. So again, people remember recent results, and it'd be great if a team could go all the way through playing sparkling football from start to finish. The reality is that's never going to happen.
I know you've been taking a standing ovation in Maryhill, but did you happen to read Ange Postecoglou's theory today about the woodcutter? He said that the 101st blow from the woodcutter breaks the rock, but it's the 100 blows that came before that made the 101st the killer blow.
I like it.
I'll be using
very
that.
Profound.
And the lumberjack.
I'll be using
in
that.
what context are you going to use
I have no idea,
that?
but I'll get it in somewhere along
I
the
know
line.
what context you'll
Yeah,
be using it.
aye. I'm
I'd
a
rather not.
lumberjack and I'm
Let's
okay.
hear from both managers, starting with Jim Goodwin and straight into Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I think it's only natural that in the build up to this game, given the what's at stake for Celtic, being able to wrap up the league title, you would imagine all of the press attention and the media attention will be on them, but it's our job as the opposition to try and make life as difficult as possible, and if that means trying to delay those celebrations for the Celtic fans by another week, then we would be absolutely delighted with that. Our last game against Celtic at Tannadice was a really good positive performance from us, where we were able to take a really valuable point. So we have to maintain the high standards that we've shown recently. We've, as I said, been on a very good run of our own, and we want to try and keep that going.
There's been a couple of great moments here in the club's history of winning the title there with Ange, and obviously with Gordon for Tommy and everything back then. So it's a real poignant place, and it's one of the great stadiums up here in Scotland. Growing up listening to it on the radio and being at Tannadice when Celtic played there, and obviously seeing some of the games on telly, and their history itself is very rich when you look back to how well they were doing in the 80s and everything else. So yeah, I was so pleased because it was one of the few grounds I hadn't been to in my time up here. So, and I'll be even more happier if we can get a win and finish off the job.
Mark Wilson, you were involved that night, 2008, when Celtic clinched the title at Tannadice. They did it under Ange Postecoglou a couple of seasons ago as well. So it's become a bit of a special away venue for the Celtic fans. What do you remember about that night?
Well, just a special night. Obviously the build up to that was, as Hugh rightly says, was quite emotional for the team. The week leading up to it, the speech that Gordon made on the training ground, all got the players quite focused. I remember the night before though, it was just a tense feeling. It's slightly different then, of course, because Rangers were going to Pittodrie that night. It was coming down to a one-game shootout, but the boys were incredibly focused. But it was a tense game, and for anybody that thought that game was just a matter of turning up at Tannadice, and because we had the more talented squad we were going to blow United away, it was far from that. And it took Jan Venegura Hesselink just a simple set piece to get the job done. I came on late in the game just to shore things up, Hugh, to get us over the line, and It was terrific, the celebration. So it was a special night.
I remember you had the Tommy Burns t-shirts.
That's
after.
right. Yeah. Straight in the dressing room. The t-shirts were there laid out, and again had a wee moment in the dressing room before we all went out and celebrated. But that was a night that obviously stays with me my full career. But I think a lot of the Celtic support and anybody that was involved in that squad, purely because what had happened that year.
When you say Gordon Strachan gave a speech in the training ground, what in particular was so memorable or poignant about that?
Well, I just never had been involved in anything like that, where somebody like Tommy Burns had affected so many people in a positive way, not just at Celtic but in Scottish football. But Gordon knew what effect Tommy had in some of the key players in that squad. Well, most of the players, but particularly the younger group, and Tannadice, but Aidan McGeady. So he gathered everybody around before training, gave a speech in his thoughts and what Tommy meant to the club and everybody there connected. He then broke the kind of huddle that we had and says, go and take 5 minutes. And everybody walked around Lennoxtown, which was quite remarkable, and had their wee moments. And then we all came back together and got into training and got our minds focused on the job. So it was a poignant moment. It got us focused on the job in hand, and obviously it went well that night.
And of course, Hugh, they won it there under Ange Postecoglou a couple of seasons ago as well. A 1-1 draw to get them over the line. Greg Taylor started and starts today. Same with Cameron Carter-Vickers, Rio Hatate, Callum McGregor. Jota and Maeda came off the bench that day as well. Giakoumakis scoring the goal. So made I was going to say a habit. I don't know if it's quite a habit, but there's been some memorable moments of Celtic winning titles at Tannadice, if they can follow it up today, of course.
And the other side of that coin is that Dundee United, or Jim Goodwin would be dazzled to say, look, fed up Celtic win the title here, so let's make sure they don't. And that's why I agree with the Dazzler. I think it'd be a tight game, but a great spectacle, because the fans will make it such. And the Celtic fans, they really do want this over the line. They want the bragging rights. That's always the important thing in the city of Glasgow. So they've gone to the city of discovery to prepare for a party in the city of Glasgow.
It is almost a moot point, Gordon, because Dundee United have got such big aims of their own, right? It does speak for itself on this occasion. However, is there a personal pride bit that kicks in? And you do want to give that little fraction more just to stop a title party on your home turf.
Yeah, I think that's what Jim's message will be to his players. Look, let's concentrate on us. Everything's focused on Celtic today winning the league. They're going for third place. They know that Aberdeen play Hibs at 3 o'clock. So if they can get anything at all and put pressure on Hibs, then it's a bonus. That's why I think it'll be a good game.
Is it going to be a title winning day for Celtic or not? Find out when we return. Just a quick word from our podcast sponsors, Wire, the best way to own an electric vehicle. Wire is a car purchasing platform that only sells 100% electric vehicles. So they'll walk you through the process of selecting a fully electric car that meets both your needs and your desires. Wire prove that virtually every car buyer can go electric today. They've got affordable options, saving you thousands on your next car through the Salary Boost scheme. This scheme makes purchasing an electric vehicle a sensible financial decision. Make sure you check out trywire.com for more information and how you can sign up. Now let's get back to the podcast.
The freedom to chase adventure starts with the right protection for your pet. Strap in with Seresto Flea and Tick Control Collar. Seresto provides 7 to 8 months of protection in a single application, giving you ultimate peace of mind. No monthly treatments, no mess, no grease and no smell. Just long-lasting, clinically proven protection against fleas and ticks, so you're ready for whatever adventure awaits. Strap in with Seresto. To find out more, visit seresto.co.uk.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
It's been a long old season so far. Celtic are not over the line yet, but they're very close. It's almost showtime at Tannadice. Let's catch up with Gabriel.
Yeah, Gordon, the two captains just leading their teams onto the pitch here in front of raucous noise. Celtic fans packing out two stands in anticipation. They think today is the day where they secure their 4th title in a row, their 55th in total. Brendan Rodgers is just walking to his dugout now. Just like his players and supporters, he wants this over the line today, and he's named what looks like a full strength 11. Sinisalo in goal, Johnson, Carter-Vickers, Scales and Taylor at the back. McGregor, Hatate and Engels in midfield. Jota and Cunha out wide. Dyson Maeda plays through the middle. You wouldn't be surprised if that is the team that plays in the Scottish Cup final at the end of May. But of course United are here as well, and they know how to frustrate the big teams. It's not been easy here for Celtic. Just before Christmas, it was a drab 0-0 performance, and United would love to spoil the party in their own stadium. Jim Goodwin's 11 is as follows. Walton in goal, a defensive Strain, Savelj, Adegboyega, Ferry, Sibbald, Campbell and Doherty in midfield, with Middleton and Payton behind Dalby up top. We all know that Celtic have won the title 3 times at Tannadice before, including their first under Ange Postecoglou a few years ago. 6 of the players starting today, Gordon, were on the pitch on that evening, and they'll be hopeful of more happy memories here. But United standing in their way with their own European ambitions. Will Celtic be confirmed as champions once more? We'll know in 90 minutes time. But first, a minute's silence.
Yes, about to get underway in around 60 seconds or so. Of course, a minute's silence to take place first at Tannadice, and then it will be game faces on for the Celtic players and the Dundee United players. As we keep saying, it's easy to get it lost in this part of the footballing world where all the talk is about the title, but that's what makes this afternoon so fascinating, Hugh. Dundee United could barely have a bigger incentive of their own, realistically, for Dundee United not only to be going for third place at any point in their time, but straight off the back of a season that they spent in the Championship. There is a lot riding on this one today.
It would complete the rehabilitation of Jim Goodwin as a manager. Jim went through a terrible time at Aberdeen, culminating in the Scottish Cup defeat at Darvo, and then that awful 6-goal beating that he took at Easter Road, and everyone remembers the images of Jim Goodwin leaving Easter Road. When he took the Dundee United job shortly after that, I thought, a bit early to come back in, but he has done a magnificent job. He has brought Dundee United back into the Premiership, and to finish in third place would be an outstanding achievement, a triumph in fact, for Jim Goodwin.
Scoreline prediction from you then. You've not got one right yet in Celtic's move towards the title. You did well in the Cup, I heard.
Yes,
last
5-0
week.
I predicted 5-0.
You did, you.
But come on, Mr. Premiership, what are you giving us today?
3-1 Celtic.
2-0 Celtic.
2-1 Celtic.
Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard. Goal flashes. With M&D Green Pharmacy. Planning your holiday? Get essential health advice and medication before you travel.
Right then, let's see how this one pans out today. Of course, a point is all Celtic need. I take Hugh Keevins' theory on this, that you want to do it with a win, you want to do it in a bit of style, but either way, the celebrations will begin and can begin if Celtic can get a point this afternoon. Dundee United will want to put a marker down before the game later on when Aberdeen and Hibs play each other. Of course, all these teams will play each other in the next few weeks, and that is the beauty of the split. But we are underway at Tannadice as Dundee United kick us off. They're just going to launch it up the pitch and try and put Celtic under a bit of pressure early on.
Well, that's the thing to do, because Celtic can have their moments of weakness. When they were in the city of Dundee not so very long ago, they had a 3-3 draw across the road at the other place at Dens Park on a night when defensively Celtic were very poor. So they have to be on their guard, Celtic.
Yeah, Dundee United are going to come up in the front foot and put players forward and try and press Celtic, but that's what I'm saying about if you look at the space in behind the Dundee United's defence. That's why Brendan Rodgers has went for Maeda through the middle. He'll get bags of space.
Yeah, Celtic obviously trying to press hard as well at the start of this. Vichko Savelj was running back towards his own goal with Dyson Maeda breathing down his neck. That is not a position any defender wants to be in, Mark Wilson.
Certainly not, but he's been a good signing for Jim Goodwin Savelj. When you look at the positions that he's played, started the season I think filling in at kind of right back, then right centre back, midfield at times, and now he looks like he's in a back three. But he certainly doesn't want to be left too much with 40 yards of space behind him, that's for sure. But United, I mean, fancy themselves, obviously Jim picking a team with Dalby and Payton up top. Their midfield, hugely experienced, and are going to need all of that today. Campbell, Docherty and Sibbald in the middle of the park.
I detected from Jim Goodwin this week, Mark, and you know him better than any of us, ever so slightly fed up. I don't think that's the right word, okay, but ever so slightly over all the questions about, oh, look at what happened to you at Aberdeen. Does that mean it's so great now what's happening at Dundee United? Because, you know, I went up and spoke to him and asked him, does all this success this season, does it feel even sweeter, you know, based on previous experiences? And he was quite quick to point out, he said something along the lines of, I'm not the only manager that had bad experiences, and I'm not the only manager to be sacked, you know. And I think maybe people do need to remember that. Look, Darvel was particularly eye-catching, obviously, as was Easter Road, but at the end of the day, that is just, you know, I guess the risk you lot take when you get into management.
Well, exactly. It comes to everybody. But Jim, it was just such a high-profile, glaring cup exit that it was always going to gain that attention. But he's totally right. It's a long time ago, and it was Aberdeen's a big club, and Jim landed there and he'd done his best and it didn't quite work out. But he's landed at another big club and he's had success in terms of, he went down with them, he brought them straight back up as champions, and look what he's done with them now. So I'm pretty certain he'll want that forgotten about and I think concentrating on the immediate future.
I think he should accept it as a
badge of honour almost.
A redemption story.
But he doesn't need everybody to keep, you know, reflecting back in it. And, you know, he won a championship.
But it is to his credit, you know, that people are saying, well, great, he came back all the way. I mean, if he finished third after Celtic and Rangers, it's what's known in Scotland as the best of the rest. So I think he should interpret this as people praising him.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well. It's probably not that deep, Gordon, when he would hold it against those who ask, or we hold it against him. But it's been quite a journey the last few seasons.
100%. I think his answer's spot on. Every manager, that's how you learn from your mistakes. You lose your job. There's not a manager going about that's worked their way at the top that hasn't lost. Even the great Sir Alex Ferguson gets sacked as well. So, look, Jim's bounced back, and he did a difficult job getting into Tannadice because he had to go and prove himself. Because if he sort of a failed there, I don't know where Jim Goodwin was going after that, right? Because he was coming in for that bit of criticism with the Darvel, Aberdeen, the Hibs. We'll all remember it. But all credit to him. He's bought well, he's got a good team, they're exciting, they're going for third, they're having a great season, and they're certainly going toe to toe with Celtic here. The only thing I would be a bit concerned if I was Jim, I just think there's too much space in behind the Dundee United backline for Maeda.
Yeah, how's this started, Mark? 5 minutes in.
Well, pretty home, like Daz is just saying there. I thought it might have been a wee bit more compact from United, but they're certainly not sitting back, and Daz is right, I'll always leave space. But you know, direct and getting the ball forward and making Celtic defend, and they've got an opportunity here in the corner. And obviously when you've got Dalby in there, I mean, there's no point in trying to build slow. You're wanting to get the ball wide and get it in the area quickly to utilise them as best as possible. So they're trying to construct something down this left hand side.
Well, he's been one of the success stories of the season, hasn't he? On loan from Wrexham. I suppose he's sort of mirrored Dundee United's achievements. You know, come up here, he's one of the top scorers in the league.
Team of the year. He's in Team of the Year this year.
You would have Simon Murray in ahead of him though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
Love Simon Murray. He loves him.
But I just think that you know, Dalby's been excellent. He's been a terrific signing, a real good signing. I think Jim at one point in January, because he had hit the ground running up here, and obviously Wrexham were monitoring it. They thought,
what? Sorry,
monitoring it. I can't get that word. Whatever. Okay, they were
keeping an eye on him.
Keeping an eye on him. Then I thought Jim at one point would be thinking, oh, we might lose him here, but all credit.
Big chance, good save. Sinisalo, I think the offside flag was up. Rory Payton coming close, it wouldn't have counted anyway unless VAR had other ideas.
That reminded me of Falkirk's equalising goal against you last night. You just couldn't, Celtic just couldn't get the ball out of that penalty area.
Yeah, pretty similar there. But you just saw how strong Dalby is. He kind of, the first instance he holds scales off, and then he just bumps it down. So he's certainly a threat. But you need to get the ball in the box to make him a threat.
Look, it's only 6 minutes on the clock. I think if I'm looking at both teams here, I would say Dundee United probably started better. Yep. But you know that Celtic have just got that quality if you switch off, especially in the wide areas. Oh well, Ingles, he's not going to get away with that.
Yeah,
sure,
Will Ferry took a real sore one. Those always look terrible because the advertising boards are right next to the pitch.
The old-fashioned wooden ones as well. None of that, digital ones.
Ingles has given him a shoulder, Will Ferry, and he's gone flying into the advertising boards. Fair play, he took it like a champion and just bounced back up.
Yeah, great start to the game. I think
Good
clearly
pace, yeah.
United have set the stall out. We're not here to be helping you in any way. We're here to be party poopers. And they're going about it the right way.
That's brilliant from Dalby again. I mean, route one from Walton from that free kick right up to Dalby. He's above Carter Vickers and he just nods it down for Sybil. Sybil should probably do better, the edge of the Celtic box, but they're not hanging about here, Dundee United. Ball forward early.
And you can see in return, Celtic are almost trying to do a bit of that, Mark. There is a misconception about this Celtic team because Brendan Rodgers before, and because they obviously like a level of control, but they do go direct at times. That doesn't mean a big high 70-yard pass. It means maybe missing out midfield or going down a side and trying to do it quickly. Celtic, I think, do that more than people give them credit for.
Certainly do, but I think because in the majority of the games teams sit back and there's not that space, as was talking about usually, then it's a slower build and you need to drag teams from side to side usually if you're Celtic. But if it's as open as this, and there has been games that have been as open as this, they are very capable of just going straight through the middle, and they've got those players who will run beyond. So you look at that front line, Kun, Maeda and Jota, they're all good at coming to the ball, but they're equally as good as turning and getting behind.
I'll tell you what, all credit to Dundee United. They're not letting Celtic settle into a pattern. They're getting right in about them. They're causing them to give the ball away cheaply. You look at that midfield three of Ingles, Hatate and McGregor. They've not really dominated the game so far, and that's all down to Dundee United, and they're putting the ball in early. There's another good ball and a good effort.
Ryan Strain with the cross. Captain Ross Docherty came flying in, got the header on it, but it goes way over the top. It was always going to be.
That's a great ball. That's a great ball right in the penalty spot. Strain's on the move from the right hand side. Docherty actually attacks that well right about the penalty spot, and you can see the plan. Work it side to side. As soon as you get anywhere near 20-25 yards out, get it in that box.
Yeah, it's important, Mark.
And I'll tell you what, Dundee United's press is working very effectively. There's a decent chance, but Rory Payton just doesn't quite catch it, and it goes into Sinisalo's grasp. But Celtic were playing out as they do, Gordon. Dundee United had two players inside the Celtic penalty box. Sinisalo tried to clip it up to Maeda and it didn't work.
They're pressing Celtic all over the pitch,
Celtic
Gordon.
can't handle this at the moment, Mark.
No, usually get Celtic who are very calm and composed, but Dundee United are right in the front foot and they cause problems there. I think he's got to do a little bit better. I think that's a good chance.
I think you're right there. It just sits nicely for him to come on with his right foot and just shape it in. But you're right. A touch of the Celtic goal last week against St Johnstone, where it's that straight ball up from Celtic this time, cut out easily. Before you know it, you're defending your box.
Last two matches, Celtic have been 4 goals up by half time in each of those games. That will not be the case today.
And look, obviously because of the dominant team and so on, and we will look at what Celtic do wrong, Gordon, but I think you've got to give credit to Dundee United in this first 10 minutes. They've got pretty much everything spot on apart from scoring.
Jim's come out with a game plan. Let's press, let's get the ball forward early. You see Dalby there once again out muscling Carter Vickers, which you don't normally say when Celtic play. Mark touched on it. The minute they're getting the ball wide and they've got an opportunity, it's right in the box early. So far the game plan from Dundee United has been excellent. It's upset Celtic's rhythm a little bit.
Because Mark, I think there is a myth that appears quite a lot when you see a performance like this. People then say, see, this is what happens when you go and get in their faces. You don't have to sit back. Teams do try at times, and they just can't. You have to do it properly. It's not as if you just have to go and get after them. And teams don't do that for a reason, because Celtic pick them off, make them look silly and end up battering them. But if you do it as well as Dundee United are today, that's why they deserve credit for this.
Well, it's all about getting your distances right, especially when you're pressing like that. So you always give yourself a chance to put them under pressure, and if one player doesn't quite get their distances right, Celtic will recognise that and play through you. But 11 minutes into this game, the front two, the wing backs, Strain and it's Ferry over this side, have pinned in that Celtic back four. And if you look at Sybil just sitting on McGregor as well, he's got no space as well, so they can't really play through. So Celtic probably for the next 5 minutes could do with just actually turning the ball quickly and just allowing Maeda to get them further up the pitch.
They can't get out their own half of the field.
Yeah, Dundee United are picking up every second ball, Hugh. They're really going tight, pressing. Look, I watched Callum McGregor dictate the first 20-30 minutes of the semi-final last week. Eventually scored, opened the floodgates. He's not been able to do that today because Dundee United are all over Celtic the minute they get the ball.
Yeah, really impressive start from Dundee United. There's a long throw from Will Ferry coming in. I think it ends up hitting one of his own teammates in the back of the head. But Celtic have everybody back. They know that they're up against it a bit here. Adebayoga tries a pass which is
look how high
is in his locker.
Dundee United's backline out is up, so Adebayoga is 10 yards inside the Celtic half. He isn't sitting away back, so when Scales clears that, it's falling to Adebayoga again, and again they're just loading it back in. So a really good spell this for United. Celtic just can't breathe at the minute.
Yeah, well, we talk about
Celtic are actually pinned back in a way that they always do to other teams, Gordon.
100%. But listen, we've seen this movie before. You all of a sudden you see Celtic 2-3 passes, the ball's in the back of net, and they're now in comfort zone. But all credit to Dundee United. I think Jim, looking at the first 13-14 minutes and the clock, will be delighted. What is
There's
that?
a cost of living crisis, and people are managing to waste food by throwing tangerines, is it?
Who's chucking the tangerines on?
Well, the
tangerines.
The banner says enjoy the fruits of our labour.
Yeah, I think it must be some
protest.
Yeah, about the ticket price. It'll be the ticket prices that the Celtic fans were unhappy with. So they've all gone down to the supermarket, batch collected some tangerines and are chucked them on. Brendan Rodgers, though, Hugh, shaking the head, he's not impressed.
Well, nor should he be, because Celtic are under pressure here. And this is the day when they're trying to win the title. All the Celtic players are helping to clear the pitch.
I was going to say that, Hugh. Look at this. So when you want your team to be focused on getting the job done, but you've played a part in them stopping the game and picking up tangerines, I mean, surely you've got to have a look at yourself and think, is this the right way of protesting against ticket prices?
There are ways of protesting, and this is as stupid as I have ever seen, because they've broken the game up. And the Celtic players are showing their contempt for what is going on. Of course the fans are. It's a legitimate reason to protest if you think the ticket prices are too high, but this is not a legitimate form of protest.
I think it's one of those, isn't it, Gordon? As Hugh says, everybody's got right to protest various things and do it in the right way. If your protest annoys your own players on the day they're trying to win the league, you've maybe just got it. You've maybe got it wrong.
Look, the camera went right on to Brendan Rodgers. You could tell he wasn't happy, right? But to be fair, right, I'm not condoning that.
I think I know what you're going to say, and I was about to ask.
Right, I think that Dundee United will probably be feeling a wee bit more aggrieved because they were sort of dictating the game, and so it may just take the focus off a little bit. But we don't want that at all.
If you want some, like, usually you would be thinking that this could break up Celtic's momentum, and that might be what's annoying. Celtic don't have any momentum to break up here.
No, but the look on Brendan Rodgers' face tells me that regardless of that being the case, that he's thinking, what a stupid form of protest this is.
The only thing you can almost see it from this point on. Celtic are about to go and dominate this game, and people will say, see, there we go,
tangerine gate.
We'll see what happens. But
he can't be throwing missiles onto the pitch. I know people say, it's just tangerines. Doesn't matter.
When you're living,
I love a good tangerine as well.
I know,
we're living in an age where there is
something
called a fan culture. We witnessed it last night at Firhill, because when Partick Thistle scored the winning goal, the pitch was invaded. Now, I don't imagine that Brian Graham or the man standing beside me, Mark Wilson, would have been terribly impressed by that, because
he was part of it.
You never know where these things can lead. But we are dealing with the fan culture. But that was an outrageous example of how not to protest.
Anyway, older now, 16 minutes on the clock officially, although there was a bit of a delay there. Dundee United 0, Celtic 0. Dundee United certainly had enjoyed the best of the action up until that stoppage.
Yeah, but you're right, Gordon. But all of a sudden now, Celtic have just got a few passes together. You can see them setting up in their shape. And it wasn't like that for the previous 6 or 7 minutes.
Actually looks so different in the last minute or so. Although Rio Hatate and Callum McGregor were talking about something. Did you notice it? They were as if the game plan was getting tweaked during that.
These players are so clever,
yeah,
to understand they can actually manage it, especially McGregor on the pitch, and how he's not getting any space. So just even moving different ways, taking Sibbald out of it, Hatate dropping in. Like
Hatate maybe dropping in now next to McGregor more than he was.
I think what they're trying to do is attract Dundee United out to leave the space to get in behind the midfield, and it's certainly working.
Chance at the back post. Rio Hatate cross. Nicholas Kuhn on the stretch, just couldn't quite get there.
It's exactly what they're after. Hatate dropped in, but then he spins, he gets up to the edge of the box. Oh, what a spot it is from him. And it would take an extraordinary pass, and it almost completes it. Great run from Kuhn.
If Nicholas Kuhn, come on Mr. Goal Scorer, goes with his right foot on that occasion, rather than trying to stretch his left.
I'm looking at the full back switched off, dead. Kuhn's got the run on him. It's a brilliant ball. I'm thinking if he's a right footed player, I think he's asking questions of the goalkeeper.
One of the downsides, Mark, of the wingers playing on the opposite side, because I know he does a lot of his good work coming in. As Gordon says, if that's a James Forrest, I think he gets a good right boot on that.
Yeah, he probably does. You look at the goal from Jota the other week there. To see, it's kind of similar. It's on the half volley, and he comes in for the other side. But I think you're right.
Oh, that's a great ball from Arnie Engels. It might find Jota at the back post. It's excellently defended though from Ryan Strain. He's got a bit of an inquest going on as to why he was left to do it. But Engels, nice work down the right. He sweeps across in from so deep that almost goes all the way through, and Strain puts it out for a corner.
I think he's looking for Maeda.
Oh, he is.
Yes, who's Strain moaning it though? He can't moan at anybody else. Adebayoga and Savells has got Maeda. The ball comes into his area, but he does incredibly well to tuck in, turn it behind.
But the game's just changed slightly in favour of Celtic after that stoppage. They're starting to get their passing rhythm going.
Oh, it's a great ball from Arnie Engels, but
great
excellently defended. Why on earth? You hate that, don't you?
I would sub him. Just catch a ball. You put pressure on the team. Why is he punching that? I cannot believe that.
Calm down.
No wonder
don't catch it anymore.
Well, don't give them gloves then. Just say if you're not going to catch it, you're not getting gloves.
Nice move. Callum McGregor's in, and it's blocked for another corner. I know why he's so angry today.
Why is that?
Can we just share this with the listeners? Because there is
why I'm angry.
There is not one man, woman or child who will not be delighted at this story. When you pulled up outside the office today, and you're environmentally conscious these days, you've got the hybrid car, so you plugged it in to charge it up. You sat your lunch on top of the car while you charged it, and what happened?
A seagull come down the store. I was chasing the seagulls about the car park.
You and I were watching as the seagulls tore into this pastry. 4 of them swooped in. So he's starving.
Never been so proud of the Clyde Bank seagull.
I could not believe. I was running about the car park calling the seagulls for everything.
What pastry in particular was it? Just to see how big a loss. Are we talking steak bake? Are we talking croissant, pain au chocolat?
Croissant, top notcher. It was for my sugar, it was for my tea. I thought I'll get into the office, I'll get a nice cup of tea, and I had it all wrapped up as well, and boom, they were away with it in 2 minutes, and they were teasing me because I was running towards them, and I thought, what if I can get it back?
What are you going to do?
Take it back?
Prize a croissant out of a seagull's beak.
Oh, it was
brilliant. Good start to the day, that.
It was.
It's great when stuff like that happens to you.
It is, yeah. I was delighted myself.
Anyway, Tangerine Gate has really, whether it's a coincidence or not, it was the momentum shifter, because Celtic are so much in the front foot now, Mark, in a way that they simply weren't earlier on in the game.
Incredible change in the game. United starting so quick, so aggressive, and then that lull has just changed the full game. Celtic look to be more in control now, into their rhythm a bit. They've been in the Dundee United box a couple of times, couple of set pieces as well. So Brendan Rodgers will be much happier, but Jim Goodwin must be fuming.
I think Brendan Rodgers will need to take that shake of the head back. That stoppage has done Celtic the world of good here.
See, to be fair, you spotted it right away, Gordon. I think the conversation with Hatate and McGregor has helped him no end, because they're dropping into areas all of a sudden Dundee United are getting exposed in behind. Celtic are starting to dominate the ball. And Mark's right about, see, when you've got good players that can spot exactly what's happening and sort it in the pitch, that's what Celtic have got.
It's amazing though, Mark, how those things, I'm not just talking about like momentum or dynamic, I'm talking about how everything shifts here. So Dundee United's positioning is now completely different. Yeah. Because presumably they're having to react to what Celtic are doing. It's
it's much harder though from a Dundee United perspective. You've done the analysis, so you all know your jobs, and then when the opposition tweaks, you kind of, well, where's that runner came from? Where's he came? Did I go with him? And it just disrupts you. And by the way, the parallels again to last night, we start well because we obviously, we get the goal from pressing, but Falkirk then change and they start dragging our players into different areas. It took us a while to get to grips with it, and it's similar here, but Celtic controlling the last 5 minutes, and probably they just need a wee bit better in the final third if they're going to get their noses in front.
The only thing I will say, there's not been many clear-cut chances and goalkeepers making good saves. It's been a good contest. I've enjoyed the first 22-23 minutes. I think the boys were spot on. I think Dundee United started very well, and then obviously sudden that wee stoppage of play, Celtic tweaked one or two things in the middle part, and now they're starting to come into the game. But it's finally in the balance.
These are the situations where Celtic can be tried and tested. The set piece from Dundee United, this is where Scales and Carter Vickers have to be switched on.
Yeah, Dundee United have been a real threat from set pieces this season, long throws as well, so Celtic will know, I'm sure, not with deliveries like that. Luckily for United, Callum McGregor can't quite get the purchase on the clearance, and they get the chance to keep it alive, but the initial ball was not a good one.
No, it was a poor free kick. It was a good position as well. You've got to try and test the back line out, but they've got on here down behind.
Yeah, Liam Scales
good
does
defending.
well, heads
good
it away
defending.
for a corner. It was brilliant down the right hand side. Was it Strain again
He's
over
a
that
good
right
player.
side?
Strain, but weak from, is it Jota who tries to get his body in between. Strain just shrugs him at the way, and it's a decent ball on. Good defending from Scales.
That's where they're getting their joy. Dundee United, they look to come down the right hand side. I know they've got pace in the left, but everything was Strain. I think Middleton down the left hand side's not seen a lot of the balls. Going over to obviously swing this in with his left foot and try and put a bit of pressure on the Celtic backline.
Sam Dolby's in there looking to cause mischief. Cameron Carter-Vickers will be wrestling with some of the other big players. Sinisalo, I don't know what you're shaking your head at. He had to punch that one. Come on. How's he going to catch that?
Catch that?
He's 6'4". Just come out and catch it.
I think that's obviously
Very
a tactic
harsh.
from Jim early on to put the ball right in top of Sinisalo. Different if you've got Schmeich on there, who's a man mountain, might be a bit more difficult, but he's got big players to try and crowd that goalie. Sinisalo does well there, I think, to punch that away.
Here we go with the long throw. Is that a towel that Will Ferry's looking for? Is it?
Yeah.
Dry the ball
Just use a
before
jumper.
launching it in.
No jumper trick.
Covered.
Oh, it's a heck of a
my
throw. It really is.
Fuck, I struggle to kick it in that far. Never mind throw it.
And it just causes chaos, because even it's not really about the first ball, Mark, is it? It's often the case that you're just looking to put some uncertainty into things.
Well, exactly that. Just get it in there, let Dalby battle away, and hope that it just breaks to someone. I think United have been good at that in the opening 25 minutes, just putting the ball in the box and seeing where it lands. Celtic defended okay.
There's an awkward pass back.
Yeah, Walton does really well. He's been a pretty good signing, Mark, hasn't he?
Oh,
for Dundee United.
Very good signing. And that's the thing, you quite often mention it in this league.
What a touch that is from Kuhn. Absolutely brilliant back heel from Kuhn.
It was great just to put it away. But if you sign well between your goalkeepers, your 1 and 2, then you've always got a good chance of finishing higher up the league, of course.
Oh, it's quick thinking from Celtic, and it's flicked on, but Maeda is just too much of a stretch for him at the back post. I think he got it wrong as well, but it was a quick corner.
Great thinking from Mingles.
Is that Greg Taylor?
Yes.
What
Taylor,
a beautiful flick it was to the back post.
Taylor just puts he knows where Maeda is. He just flicks it with his left foot. Maeda's got technique all wrong for me.
I take it back what I said. I don't think it was too much of a stretch for Maeda. He just got up too early, didn't he?
Yeah, technique was all wrong. It's not the biggest strength he's got in the game, but
I think he scored a couple of headers
this
season.
He has, but it's not, as I say, it's not his biggest strength. But I've got to say, good thinking from Ingles. He sees the opportunity. Greg Taylor standing there. Dundee United have switched off. You cannot afford to do that against a Celtic team, especially when you are firmly in this game at 0-0.
I agree. I can't believe Dundee United just switch off and think Celtic's going to take their time on anything. Surely that's the one thing, they're quick to throw-ins like Alistair Johnson is here, quick at corner kicks, and they just think, we'll just let them all set up. Good little flick from Taylor.
Good little game.
Yeah.
Anyone who thought that Celtic were going to waltz in and waltz back out again with the league title, the dance floor is not like that.
I had a feeling Hugh was always going to be a tight game. This is Dundee United are a good side at home, and they know that with the atmosphere there. Celtic are up for a party celebration to go and clinch a title. As an opposition, you don't want that in your own back garden. Like, the first goal's got to be really important. But I think the game's finely balanced. I really do.
Another corner Celtic. They have been much better in the second half of this half so far, if that makes any sense whatsoever. We're 27 minutes in, and for about the first 15 or so it was all Dundee United, but Celtic have certainly composed themselves and threatened quite a bit since then. Not many outrageously clear chances, but certainly knocking on that door. Arnie Ingles, it's another, I think it's the worst ball, but most of the Celtic players were a bit closer to the goal. This was the outswinger that sort of evaded them all, and it comes all the way back to Johnston, then McGregor.
I think he's got to put that in a better area, Gordon, if I'm honest. I think, obviously they load those big ones in around the penalty spot and he's missed them all to the back spot, unless he's got other ideas of somebody coming in there. But I think he's better than that. His delivery is usually top class.
All of a sudden you see McGregor just drop into nice spaces, picking the ball up, dictating the pace of the game. Celtic been very patient, going back, forward, going to the wide areas. Kuhn now 1-on-1, plays it in there. Their movement is starting to get a lot better, rotations. They're starting to cause problems.
Yeah, another ball in, another clearance, another corner.
Johnson's so good at that. Alistair Johnson, continuing his run, and quite often a back four or whatever it is, or a midfielder will just switch off, but Engels knows where he's going. He just plays that ball inside all the time. The amount of times he gets to the byline for that cutback is incredible.
Contention to be in top four for player of the year, Matt?
Maybe fifth,
okay.
Just outside the top four.
Yeah.
That was a rogue
alongside Ben Rice.
Yeah.
And who was the centre? Was it Suter as well? No.
Goal.
There we go. We've got the opener at Tannadice.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And Celtic have taken the lead. It's Dundee United 0, Celtic 1. You did get the feeling that one of those corners was going to tell eventually. Celtic have really been amping up the pressure in recent minutes, and it has eventually paid dividends. Dundee United 0, Celtic 1. Jota with the goal.
Jota, who's had a very quiet start to the game, but there he goes.
Taking the ball off
far post, yeah.
Scales does brilliantly. I've got to is it Strain that's on Jota? He goes towards. I don't know why he's going to. He's first moving. Look, he moves, and then all of a sudden he's killed. Jota, easiest chance. And I agree with you. I was actually just thinking about. We've not seen a lot of Jota down the left hand side, but he's there to put the first goal in, important one.
Just an instinctive one, Mark, like a striker's finish, if you like.
Well, yeah, he's in that back post area, but Celtic's so good at filling those areas. That's why I made the point. Engels' delivery spot on to hit Scales, because Scales is probably the best in the air in that respect, and he just gets enough on it to guide it towards the back post. And was it definitely Jota that put it in? Did it come off Strain? No.
I did wonder at the final touch, and is that why the cameras were so focused on Strain? Because he did dangle a leg. I think it's one of those where Jota,
you got to give it to Jota, surely.
You can rely on it that Jota will give it to Jota.
Yeah. I listen, I got to be honest, I didn't really notice that. I know that Strain looked like he'd switched off and get caught. He looked very disappointed, so he may have got the final touch. But I think if you're Jota, I would certainly be claiming the opening goal.
You claim goals for games in which you did not play.
I did, Hugh. I did a couple, and by the way, I nearly got them.
So anyway, there we are. I was going to say, as it stands, Celtic are champions, but they were anyway, Hugh, because they only needed a point today. But it has added that bit of certainty to proceedings. Unless Dundee United can turn this around, they will be frustrated, I think, at the nature of that goal.
Yeah, of course. But they were even more frustrated if Celtic got another one before half time.
It was definitely a strain on goal.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. But you're giving it to Jota still because he was close.
Yeah, you can't just dish them out like that.
Yeah, I'd like to give
I
it
thought
to
it was Jota's celebration. He was a bit muted. I thought,
Okay. It's
own goal, Ryan Strain. There we go.
yeah, it helps when Mark looks at it three times.
I did say, didn't I? I think
honestly,
it was
right? I think being in the management game has sharpened his focus.
Honestly,
No, but I don't just mean today. I think there's a few things he notices straight away. I'm not even kidding.
I'm starting to feel overpowered with this guy with his knowledge. I used to be the master and he was
apprentice.
Pupil. Now it's the complete reverse. Ever since we got that referee running into the box in Germany to make up the
that's where it all went pear-shaped for you. It's when I started to lose respect for you.
Don't bring the stopwatch in next week.
I had it in the pocket last night. I had it.
Just wear
ready
it
to go.
Wear it during the show next week.
Anyway, it was
the telly captured you
with a stopwatch.
Yeah.
See, ever since Mourinho seen me, he'd remember Fenerbahce.
That's true. He copied your style.
To be fair to the telly man, they get John McGlynn looking at his watch, and in the very next second you pulled out the stopwatch.
Exactly, because you can't be sure with the watch on your wrist. If that stops, you've got to have two watches, Hugh.
I've become very arrogant about this. I'm convinced that I'm almost certainly talking nonsense here, but I'm convinced that everything he does on the touchline is like with us in mind.
100%. He plays to the cameras.
No, us specifically, because I feel like he tries to look extra composed. I feel like even the sending off went in. Did you see him trying to do that thing where the manager's just switched on, make the changes, don't get caught up, don't blame the ref? He was pulling people around, he was pointing. He was pointing at the pie stand. He was just waving his arms around. Just
somebody
to try
and get me a drink. Can I compose myself here?
What am I going to do?
I know. It's mad at that time though. See when somebody gets sent off, right? Because that's the thing your coaching badges don't teach you.
But you should learn that. They should always have that prepared before a game, Mark.
Because he must know, right?
That's where the difference between you and I is.
Say he loses the place, right? Goes ranting and raving or storming down. We would absolutely slaughter him for that. And I think he knows it.
Exactly. I've got to be guarded against you.
Anyway, as much as it pains me to take time out of criticising Mark Wilson, I think Jota's in some real bother here. He was the man who was involved in the goal. I think we're putting it down as a Ryan Strain own goal. It's certainly a Ryan Strain own goal.
How unlucky, because it kind of one of those that rolls down his leg, off his knee, shin and in.
But since then, Jota came across, didn't loads in the challenge. It looked quite innocuous, but he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah, won't want to see that, because there are big important games. I know Celtic want to get over the line here, but still big games to come.
The thing that would probably worry you, Mark, is it very unlikely that that's as a result of any contact.
Did you see that? Yeah, just he looked like his knee just moved there. Certainly limping off. He's done.
Here he comes.
Quick decision there from.
Yeah, interesting, because we're getting an insight into that front three, the dynamic. Because if you were going to go like for like and keep Maeda through the middle, then you bring James Forrest on.
Yeah.
But no, it is Adam Ida who's going to come on. So Dies and Maeda will go back out wide.
Yeah, that is interesting, because you could have brought Forrest and put Kuhn over to the left and just kept your Maeda through the middle. But to be fair, it might not be a bad thing, because we've not really seen a lot of the front three Celtic. Jota's limped off there. He was only we looked at him at the goal and we thought he scored the goal. It wasn't an own goal.
I think in the last 20 minutes or so they've become a lot more involved.
I think the middle of Park, I think Engels, Hatate and McGregor have started to really get on the ball. But I think that Brendan Rodgers, especially the ability the front three have got.
Not ideal, Hugh, because I know it's not got that much riding on it. But Ibrox next week, a Scottish Cup final round the corner as well. And Jota would want to be involved. Brendan Rodgers would want him involved.
Well, he looks in a lot of pain, but I think also Brendan Rodgers is thinking we look a bit weak up front, look a bit powder puff, and Adam Ida ought to have that kind of physicality about him. He got that goal last week, but I would have scored that goal. Hatate,
that's good play from Ida there. Great link up.
It's amazing to see that. That as soon as he comes on, it just changes. So straight up to Ida McGregor off him. How many times have we seen that when Ida plays?
Yeah, and to be fair to Maeda, I think McGregor does pick the wrong pass. I think if he plays it inside the full back, I think he gives him a problem. We don't see that too often about McGregor, but you're right, Mark, different style.
I also thought that I think there was one just before that where they did go straight to Maeda's feet, which I thought was quite interesting, because he maybe doesn't normally do that. I think it was Sinisalo that picked him out, but Adam Ida taking it in there, he just can't quite get the pass off it, bobbled.
That'll disappoint. That's disappointing. He comes off, he shows.
Does the hard bit.
I totally agree, and then gives the ball away cheaply. And it's a simple pass as well. Just put a bit of weight on it. You've done your job, and you've come into the game, and already you've contributed with McGregor, and you've contributed there. So he's got to take better care.
Just when I saw Sam Dalby win a flick on their mark, it reminded me to ask you, because I know it's a different skill and it's maybe the way that you're facing and who's got a run and so on, but Dalby's not really lost a header in an attacking sense, and yet Liam Scales does him for the Celtic goal. Would that be a frustration if you're Jim Goodwin?
Certainly would be, because that's their danger. That's why Dalby's marking him, and just to get the jump on him not so easily. But he'll see it as an easy goal to lose. United are a big physical side, so I think when they were analysing things, I think maybe set pieces would have been the least of their worries. They would have identified Carter Vickers and Scales. When you see Maeda, Kuhn and Jota as your front three, there's no Ida, you take another big one out there, you would have been happy. So a poor one for him to lose.
But even when he wins it, Mark, I think Strain's got to switch on. He's got to be alert.
A chance for United to get into the box, but Payton again, he's got in some good areas. He's not caught a strike cleanly yet though, and that will frustrate him and his manager. I'm sure that is brilliant from Arnie Engels. Pirouettes away from pressure and sprays a nice pass out to Dyson Maeda, who crosses, and we've got another goal.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
That is deadly from Celtic. From their own penalty box into the Dundee United net in a flash. It's Dundee United 0, Celtic 2, Nicholas Kuhn with the goal.
That's what they do to you. You think you're still in the game. All of a sudden, Engels, I think Engels has been very good this afternoon. The goalkeeper throws it out. He turns it, is it Sybil there? He just turns him. He gets his head up. What a ball to Maeda. Maeda stands up the defender, plays a great ball in there. Kuhn's still he's still a bit to do, but what a great finish.
We need your stopwatch, Mark, and the television companies will take care of us, but I would guess 10-11 seconds from Sinisalo having the ball in his gloves to hitting the back of the net at the other end.
Incredible speed of play, forward thinking. Engels is just about a halfway line, and it's all about that turn away from Sybil just to buy himself a couple of yards, and it's a great pass. And Maeda, you're right, Daz, what a ball. He knows. By the way, Alistair Johnson has made the run from the full-back position across the front post, so he's occupying a couple of defenders. But Kuhn's finish, I mean, how difficult is that? It's coming across at pace on the half volley into the roof of the net. A sensational goal from Celtic.
Well, Engels hasn't put a foot wrong all day. When we thought Jota had scored, we touched upon the fact that he'd done very little in the game, but
what a ball that is.
Yeah, Dundee United can't get an end of it.
Down that right hand side again, Hugh.
He's been subtlety personified.
Yeah, maybe I'll agree with you in that one. Sinisalo probably should catch that one.
It's a fierce enough strike from Will Ferry, but always curling away from goal.
Well, here we've got a situation where Celtic are 2 goals in front. The Tangerine episode will put a few minutes on to the game. The first half, we've gone 40 minutes now, but I would think we've got perhaps another 8 or 9 minutes left. There is that opportunity for Celtic to have this out of sight by half time.
Yeah, they're just doing things quicker now, even throw-ins, everything. You've seen it there. They're starting to up the pace of the game. Dundee United need to be careful here.
Cool defending there.
I think we've seen a few of these games, and actually I suppose the first half in the St Johnstone Cup game is a bit like this as well, Gordon. Is this like representative of the challenge that teams face in the Premiership this season? Because you can play quite well, you can do not a lot wrong, and find yourself out of the game by half time. You touched on it there, the time in 10-11 seconds, and I'll tell you what, Adam Ida will be disappointed. Hatate looks up, sees him, puts it right in his head. I think he's got to do better. It's a huge let off for Savelage in front of him, Mark, who misses it, and you wonder if that's the bit
It puts Ida off a wee bit.
Because the Dundee United defender should head that clear.
You know what? It's just a variety of playing Celtic, because you're thinking Tannadice going to keep that out wide, touch out the feet. He knows he's got Ida, puts it in a good area, and I think you're right. Seville misses it, but I think he puts Ida off. So another let off, but Celtic just motoring away, and here comes Ida again.
Yeah, luckily for Dundee United, Seville manages to get back, and Ida does okay, and it's a shot that finds Maeda. It was meant to be a shot at goal, I think.
Yeah.
Is he just that quick, Maeda, that he's made up the ground?
I think he picks the wrong option there, Mark. I think he's got to. Yeah, I think he's got to square that.
Maeda?
Maeda, yeah.
It was nearly 3 there, but it was well saved by Jack Walton. That's good from Alan Campbell. Maybe the sort of tenacious play that's been.
They're just moving the ball quicker, Gordon. That's a complete difference. It's control, pass and move. And when they do that at speed, then the opposition struggle to live with them. And that's what's happening here. Jim will be looking at that clock thinking, I thought we were doing well, but let's get in 2-0 down at half time. Regroup.
Yep, quite sensational stuff. By the way, can I just use this opportunity for a shout out? Leanne's gran Annette, right? She's been in hospital all week. 88. She loves the show. She was listening in the ward, and she's got out. That's what I'm getting to, right? And she's sitting with Leanne just now and just says, I like that man's voice.
Thank you.
This guy. I've just got the text. How can you like your voice?
Leanne said that in the gym the other day. She likes my voice as well.
All you've done is cough and splutter your way through the show so far.
Get
Not
well
today,
soon,
have
Annette.
Yeah, do you want a bet?
You have, yeah.
Going to do me a favour, because I've got trying to get the reflexes of a cat here. Every time I see you line up a cough, I pull your mic down. Just give me a wave, and then I'll know in advance.
Right. I have got
your soothing tones is making.
Oh my word.
Annette.
Yeah, Annette happy.
I bring happiness to a lot of people.
He's been praised for many things before, not his voice.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hugh, we're nearly there in the first half. First half which sees Celtic just move closer to being confirmed as champions.
Oh, I think they're over the line now. Celtic may have their defensive moments of laxity, but not sufficient for Dundee United to get enough goals to prevent Celtic from being the title holders, and that there may be more goals to come from Celtic. They now shoot towards the Celtic support in the second half, and they've got over the bad start. They've got over the loss of Jota, and the goal from Kuhn was a thing of beauty, starting with Arne Engels. I feel
a little bit sorry for Jim and Dundee United, because you're sitting there thinking we've not done a lot wrong. We started the game well. We lost a goal. They'll be raging, losing a goal at a set play, especially with the height and everything that Dundee United have got. But see the second goal, that's what Celtic do. They just cut you open.
I will openly admit before saying this, Mark, that I'm getting very ahead of myself. I've got no idea how serious that is for Jota. He might be absolutely fine, but when you're talking about the next few games and how Celtic would want him for Ibrox, would want him for a cup final, the scary thing is you're at this stage of the season where you look at injuries and hope that they don't eat into your pre-season as well, because it's not that far away. Celtic will be back in a couple of months, so even a kind of 8, 9, 10 week layoff really disrupts things for players at this point in the season.
You're hoping that everyone goes away and has a proper break, because it's a long hard season even for Jota. I know he didn't play the first half of the season. You want to give them a break. However, if that injury impacts, and I'm presuming, or it needs attention, then that could disrupt your summer. So be interesting to hear what the diagnosis is in that, especially with Ibrox and Aberdeen at Hampden. You want your big players ready to go.
Yeah, another corner for Celtic, which did lead to the opening goal. Ryan Strain got the final touch into his own net, under a bit of pressure from the aforementioned Jota, who's now departed with that injury. Arne Engels again with the outswinger. He's had plenty of corner practice today.
Again, they don't do anything special, do the Celtic? Just Scales and Carter Vickers, run about the penalty spot, outswinger.
Oh, it's a great delivery right into a danger area. Dundee United stand up to it well.
5 additional minutes.
Do you know what I did like? I think now we can make light of the situation. I think Dyson made it ate one of the tangerines.
Did he?
Yeah, I've seen somebody.
There's a video and you can see him unpeeling it, and it does look like he pops a bit in his mouth before the camera goes off.
Bit of vitamin C.
Do you still do that at half time? Genuinely?
The old oranges cut up?
No.
No, dressing room.
Was that in your day, the oranges?
I think I might have missed them.
Is that even before you? Jeez, I'm acting as if that was
I love the oranges.
What's on offer at half time in the pub?
There's all sorts of energy drinks and made up by the sports scientists now.
Wine
Isn't it like
gums.
Maddie? It was just like a bottle of Celtic, that Powerade or Lucasade that you place with water. No, there's all these energy stuff.
I think players, a lot of them, wine gums and stuff like that.
You had a cup of tea?
I had a cup of tea and a Jaffa cake.
At half time.
Yeah.
If you never told us that before.
I know. I don't think I knew that before.
There is something weird about a hot drink sitting in your stomach.
Without doubt. You know what I mean? That shows the era you play in. A cup of tea.
A cup of tea and 6 custard creams.
Yeah. I had a couple
That's bad preparation. That can't be good for you.
Couple of Jaffa cakes. I used to drink tea.
I like tea.
At quarter to
but I don't.
Before I went out. Yeah.
What, is sitting with a mug of tea?
Yeah.
But you're tripling. That's mental. That's nuts.
Mate, I swear, right, and you'll not believe it. I actually, in the boys at Wraith Rovers Day, I actually went out in the pitch for a warm up with a mug of tea.
Is it as ridiculous as he's making out?
No,
though?
it's
Because
not.
see if you think about it, is any that a nutritionist can tell us just a sugary drink? Do you know what I mean? Do you have wee sugar in it?
No.
Oh, never mind then.
No, I only just milk.
Okay.
Didn't have sugar in it. There's a
strange.
couple of diges in it.
Diges
in it.
Daisen Maeda is a man who does not drink tea, and he's set up yet another
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
It's a second for Nicholas Kuhn, almost like a man who's been stung by the suggestion that his form has tailed off at the end of the season. He's got 2, Celtic have got 3, and they are cruising towards another title, Hugh.
They are now the champions. There is no way in this world that Dundee United come back from 3 down. And I said earlier on that the Celtic had scored 4 goals in the first half of their last 2 games, and that wouldn't be the case today. Well, it might. There's still time, but Dundee United have fallen out of this game entirely.
What makes that goal for me is Greg Taylor's weight-off pass over a defence for Maeda.
I like the accidental dummy from Adam Ida, who tries to score but misses it.
Yeah, listen, he makes a run, he takes the defender in, there's all credit to him. Yes, he tries to put it in with his left foot, he misses it, but Kuhn's followed up. Simplest of task, and Hugh's right. Now crowned champions, they can go enjoy probably the second half. I go back to it, I look at Dundee United and think, you've not really done a lot, you've just been done by some quality players.
Mark, we said it before, Dundee United are one of our better teams. They're hard to break down. They've got the best defensive record outside of Celtic and Rangers, and Celtic are blitzing them here in a game that actually the home side have done okay, and it just shows you how clinical Brendan Rodgers' side is
over a short period of time. Similar Kilmarnock, similar to St Johnstone. Once they get that first goal, they don't come off it, they actually go for the throat. I mean, the variety of goals as well, that's just brilliant. And that looks so basic that Greg Taylor, he plays that forward, but I think Maeda's run, coming to the ball and then just running in behind Taylor's pass.
He's in again here. He's in again. He's in behind the defence, but there's a player and he makes a mess at the back heel. Dalziel and Maeda tried to be too clever. He was fully through. Will Ferry took advantage of a unforgiving bounce and got just about back in front of him, but it was 2-on-1 for Celtic. Kuhn was there, but Maeda tried the back heel, got it all wrong, and it goes through to Jack Walton. That's a huge let off, because Hugh, you would have had your
4 goals,
your semi-prediction in there, 4 by half time.
It's a real bad mistake by Dalziel and Maeda, and we haven't said that too often this season. It was an absolute
chance for Dundee United, saved by Sinisalo.
An absolute gimme for Nicholas Kuhn, but Maeda made a mess, and as I say, Dundee United are all over the place.
Kuhn
now
will be disappointed.
A hat-trick.
Yeah, in the first half. I've got to say, I spotted it very early with Dundee United. They leave a lot of space in behind.
Half time at Tannadice. Here is Gabriel.
Dundee United 0, Celtic 3, and Brendan Rodgers' side are in complete control and on course to become champions again, thanks to Ryan straight on goal and 2 brilliant team moves, both finished off by Nicholas Kuhn. Didn't look straightforward early on though, Gordon. United the better in the first 50 minutes for sure. Good press, Sam Dalby dominating up top with a few nice layoffs. Rory Payton had a couple of half chances but didn't quite catch them. The turning moment came with the tangerine interruption. Celtic supporters protesting against ticket prices. Rodgers was fuming as his players were forced to throw fruits off the pitch, whilst Jim Goodwin used the break to huddle his 11 round him and give out further instructions. But perhaps Rodgers should have been smiling. Celtic improved instantly after it, almost like a reset. Reo Hatate and Callum McGregor dominating on the ball in the middle of the park. The pressure started to mount, it resulted in a few corners, and after the half-hour mark, Liam Scales was there to flick on an out-swinging corner from Arne Engels. Ryan Strain turned it into his own net under pressure from Jota. A few minutes later, it was to Gordon, a sweeping attack from back to front. Sinisalo in the goal, starting with the ball in his hands. It gets to Arne Engels, who beats his man in the middle. A great ball out to Dyson Maeda, who's crossed to the far post, finds his teammate Nicholas Kuhn. And then in stoppage time, almost a repeat, Greg Taylor with a lovely weight of pass to Maeda again, who whips it from left to right to Kuhn, who couldn't miss. Those two, Maeda and Kuhn, have just been deadly this campaign. The only cause for concern for Celtic, Jota has gone off with a knee injury. They will hope that's not too serious. But United will be wondering how they're 3 down. They played reasonably well, they were good early on. They'll be so disappointed to concede that opener from a set piece, but they need a miracle if they are to spoil this party now. All going to plan here for Celtic. At the interval, it's Dundee United 0, Celtic 3.
The winning team, all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half-time at Tannadice, where Celtic lead 3-0. They are almost certainly going to be crowned champions today. Hugh Keevins, it might not have started in particularly convincing fashion, but it certainly ended in it.
Yeah, with Celtic's 100th league goal into the bargain, scored by Nicholas Kuhn, who has had a great afternoon, scoring twice. But for Dyson Maeda trying to showboat, he would have had a hat-trick, Nicholas Kuhn. But Maeda's pass was very poor. So Celtic are the champions now. The second half, shooting towards their own fans. They'll want to perhaps score 5 for 3 games in a row. That's going over the line in style.
Yeah, I don't think they'll take their foot off the gas here. I think it's a perfect opportunity for those players to celebrate another wonderful season, and they've got 45 minutes just to play relax, and that makes them a dangerous group to come up against if you're Dundee United. You know, I don't know if there's many left from the Dundee United squad that got beaten 9 here, but I'm not saying it's going to go to that level. But Celtic are certainly going to score another couple of goals. But some of the goals, I mean, the first goal, Scales does well to get above it. It's an own goal from Strain. The 2 other goals, but by design, how quickly they play forward and run forward's incredible. And then once it gets to Maeda, who's then been moved to the left by that time, just a ball across the face. He knows that he'll have players filling those gaps, and Kuhn, a terrific finish for the first one, and then the second one he just judges it well to be in the middle of the 6-yard box to put it away. So a fantastic performance. But for 10 minutes, 12 minutes before that tangerine stoppage, Celtic were being made to defend their own box. After that stoppage, they took control of the game.
Yeah, I think Celtic have just upped the gears. They've figured out on the pitch. That's what Brendan Rodgers must be so pleased with. As much as he's a terrific coach and his staff say, you look at McGregor, you look at Hatate, they had a chat with each other. All of a sudden, after the stoppage, they're moving Dundee United midfield players all over, creating space for the front men. I think Ada since he come on, has been a good addition. I've got to say, I think he's gave them something a little bit different. And
he's poor at what he should be doing, though, is he not?
Yeah, look, he's got a good opportunity, and I think Gordon makes a point that maybe a defender puts him off. It's a good ball in from Hatate. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, he should do better with the header. But his link-up play and his movement's been good since he come on. I've got
Celtic
to say,
have been more potent since he came on, haven't they?
100%. I think his early touches, you know, he plays McGregor in very early. That set the tempo, and then he gets a good run for Kuhn's third goal. He's probably a wee bit disappointed, doesn't go on the end of himself, but he's still making the run, still taking defenders away, and all of a sudden he misses it and Kuhn sticks it in the back of the net. So I think he's made an impact.
If you're Jim Goodwin, Mark, in that dressing room at half time, you probably feel you've done okay and you're 3-0 down. Damage limitation, is it?
Scratching your head. I think he would focus on the set piece, and you were right to mention Dalby. Dalby doesn't really get off the ground, so when you're bringing one of your big guys back who's physically robust and, you know, good in the air, you expect him to do a better job in skills. So you pinpoint those little moments that kind of open the floodgates, because your game plan's going fine until that point, and I think you start really well. You know, you force the ball into the box, you force Carter Vickers and Scales to defend, but as soon as that first goal goes in, you know, Celtic just come to life, and then they can't match the movement. And on a couple of occasions his team have dropped runners, which allowed obviously Maeda to get in that left hand side. But we've seen instances, Johnson, Engels getting off their men, and that concentration just switches. So it's going to be a tough 45 minutes for the United team.
I'll ask you the question, and in all seriousness, because people will bring it up, do you give any credence whatsoever to the Tangerine episode having disrupted Dundee United?
It certainly disrupted their flow, there's no doubt about that. You know, it coincided with a throw-in, the ball going out of play as well, and it just allowed enough for a breather for McGregor and Hatate to have a chat, for Brendan Rodgers to then, you know, sort things out and fix things a wee bit better. And then after that, the game just changed. You could clearly see the game changing.
I think what's interesting though is during that break, Jim Goodwin did have his players over. They took the chance to have a sort of regroup, and I suppose it didn't work and the game swung. Big day for Nicholas Kuhn, Hugh, because that takes him up to 20 for the season in all competitions. He hasn't scored since Bayern Munich away on the 18th of February. He did get the nod in Team of the Year last weekend, and you know, back to getting in amongst the goals today. Yeah,
it's been a very, very good afternoon for him. His form had dipped dramatically, so because in the first half of the season he was outstanding, Celtic's best player by the length of Sucky Hall Street, but it had drifted away. But it's the manner in which he finishes today that shows his quality. And you know, I know they're all pals and they're going to be champions and they'll party later on today. I'd be raging if I was Nicholas Kuhn because of that daft pass from Maeda.
There's still plenty of time.
Yeah,
but they're giving him a hat-trick by half-time.
He's looking for the perfect hat-trick now. Yeah. He's went right foot, left foot. He's looking for a header. But
the celebration was interesting from Kuhn. You know, like using his hands to signal. There's been a lot of talk and houses like that, but who's he? He's obviously not directing that, surely, to Celtic fans, maybe to the wider public who have said he's went off the boil a bit. But what a season he's had, and that's why I think he'll be in the running, or should be in the running, for Player of the Year. He's done a lot of his good work in the first half of the season. Okay, a bit quieter, but look at him today. You know, he's hardly had much involvement in possession to take people on and jink inside. But when it really matters, he's got 2 goals and he could have had a hat-trick.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think his start to the season sets such high standards, and that's the problem. He dropped off those standards. Listen, Brendan Rodgers, he dropped off. He left him out of 2 games there. He left him out of semi-final, a massive game for Celtic at Hampden. He's brought him back in today, and he's probably went, I'm looking for a response. He's certainly given that response positively.
Here comes the other wee issue for the second half. Does James Forrest get on and get that goal? That goal, which means 16 seasons in a row having scored for Celtic.
Yeah, I think everybody wouldn't grudge James Forrest that. You know, he's the most decorated Celtic player just now. He's won everything multiple times. He's been brilliant, and he's still got a lot to offer, because I think everybody sort of started writing him off last year, and he just come bouncing back. And even I thought he was a wee bit unlucky to be left out at Hampden against St Johnstone. I thought he was excellent, I really did.
I suppose as well, Mark, it's not some sort of novelty act. James Forrest will come on today. James Forrest, would come on. He's the next winger on the bench.
Yeah,
you get your 5 subs. Celtic always kind of swap their wingers. It's not like he would be coming on
as a sentiment,
like some sort of mascot.
Yeah, farewell game or anything like that. No, he's a big part of Brendan Rodgers' plans, and he's worthwhile hanging about and keeping at the club, because when you need to take some strain off your wingers, because it is a long hard season when you've got 4 competitions, he's a great option to have. So I've no doubt James Forrest will get that goal, whether it's today or the remaining 4 games.
Celtic's dominance has been so clear, the title has been a foregone conclusion. I'm not sure it's the stat that will really keep Brendan Rodgers up at night, but they do go to 100 Premiership goals, as Hugh mentions. Have they got a couple in them in this second half? They've then got 4 games after. Ange Postecoglou's team got 114.
Oh, 14 goals. It's a big tally.
In 4.5 games.
They'll be doing well to get that, I think. Especially when you consider the playing Rangers at Ibrox as well.
I think, in terms of the second half, they are shooting towards the Celtic supporters behind that goal and also to the left-hand side of them. The protest was correct in as far as if you think you're getting charged too much, then you're entitled to say so. The way they went about the protest, the Celtic supporters, was entirely wrong. But they are going towards their own supporters, and I think they owe them one. If they're paying up to £42 a ticket to be there today, you owe the Celtic supporters a bit of a joy by scoring at their end.
Here come the teams. Gabriel, any changes you can see, and if not, just recap them for us.
No, Gordon, it looks like we were in the first 45 minutes. As we know, United started well those first 10-15. They want to do the same again here. They were out first, so it will be Walton in goal. He made a few saves, couldn't stop those 3 flying past him. A defence of strain. Adegboyega, Savelge and Ferry. Midfield, Sibbald, Campbell and Doherty, with Payton and Middleton supporting Dalby up top. Celtic just one change, but that was made in the first half, with Jota having to come off for Adam Ida. There's Sinisalo in goal, Taylor, Scales, Carter Vickers and Johnson at the back, McGregor, Hatate and Engels in the middle. Adam Ida's come on, he's playing through the middle with Maida and Kuhn out wide. Arne Engels stands over the ball, Gordon. They've got a commanding lead, they're in cruise control, and they are 45 minutes away from becoming champions.
Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get your essential medicines and vaccines before you head off on holiday.
Remind me of your pre-match predictions. Anyone still in the mix?
I said 3-1 Celtic.
Okay.
I said 2-0, so I'm
Hopeless.
Out 2-1.
Hopeless. Anyway, second half is underway. Dundee United started quickly in the first and then found themselves 3-0 down by the interval. They certainly have come out with the same intent, Mark, and I'm just basing that purely on how high their press is. Quite a difficult position to be in if you're Jim Goodwin. You must know that, the game's gone, but do you try and just salvage something from it rather than going into full damage limitation mode?
I think so. I think you've got to analyse that first, or assess that first 10 minutes and what you were good at, and that's your strongest part of the game, and it was good before the disruption. So I think he's went with the same again, because what's the alternative? You sit back and allow Celtic just to come at you into your box. He took a slightly different tactic before Christmas, of course, where it was much more condensed and tougher to break down, and they got a 0-0. But look, the game's gone now. You may as well try and salvage something and grab a goal, and their best opportunities or their best interaction in the box was that first 10 minutes.
I think it comes with a bit of freedom, Gordon, because I know they're in the hunt for third and they could finish third, and then the fourth is not far behind that. But ultimately, no matter what Dundee United do from here on in, it's going to be a good season. They can't slip out of a position where it's going to be considered a good season. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't carry that pressure.
Oh, there's a goal.
Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it's 4 already. Dundee United 0, Celtic 4. Adam Ida gets his goal. He salutes the Celtic fans down the right, stood up, and there he was, a simple header into the back of the net. And Celtic are cruising, make it 101 goals for the Premiership season,
and make it all over, and make it a topic of conversation. Whatever happened to Dundee United? It's a magnificent ball from Nicholas Kuhn, and to be fair to Ida, he does his job properly. It's a great ball from Alistair Johnson, and you wonder now, what could it be? It's 4 now. We've got almost all of the second half to play. Shooting towards their own supporters. This could get serious.
Gordon, the ball from Kuhn and then the ball from Johnston, deadly.
Oh, Kuhn just outside his foot. Listen, he scored 2 goals, bags of confidence, but all credit to Alistair Johnston. He makes a brilliant run. He really does. The minute he gets in the position, Middleton knows he's dead, left for dead, and he just gets his head up. He knows where Adam Ida is, and he just pops it up to him and says, right, go on then. You have made an impact since you come on, but the biggest impact, scoring goals, and he obliged.
Does a modern coaching guru like yourself consider that a pre-assist for Nicholas Kuhn?
Oh, that's got to be.
Do you count them at Partick Thistle?
It's such a sensational pass.
What do you think,
really
Gordon?
is.
Pre-assists, you having that?
Oh,
No.
they're in again here.
They're in again.
Yeah,
Adam
this
Ida
could
is
get
causing all
ugly.
sorts
Here
of-
comes Celtic once again, but it's behind Nicholas Kuhn. It really should have been 5. And don't forget, Celtic had a golden chance just before the break. But here's Kuhn, left-footed, and Jack Walton makes the save. It's funny, Mark. I was in the middle of saying, does it come with a bit of a freedom for Dundee United? They're not under huge pressure today. So can you come out? I didn't even get to finish the sentence. You know, can you come out in the second half and still press high and still go for it? And that's what they've done. They concede, and I noticed they're still doing it, because obviously you're not going to abandon it within 2 minutes of the half, but you do wonder at which point
You just don't
you
want
have
this
to
to
flip.
get silly. So it's got to be on the brink of thinking, okay, let's just limit this.
But is that the problem with the timing of that goal? Because
Yeah,
if you're
of
Jim
course.
Goodwin, you've spent the entire break
Saying this is the
saying,
way
listen,
we're going to play.
why not?
Yeah.
We're still going to press them high. We got a bit of joy early on. Go and do that again. Do you
It's-
then put a different instruction on
It's
60
incredibly
seconds
difficult
later?
to get that instruction on, because the players are all so focused on what you've just spoke to them about, and you've just been undone. But the quality, and I mean, it looks so simple. Kuhn outside of the foot, Johnson's run from 45 yards away on the inside of Middleton. But what a ball! That's such a difficult ball just to stand up for Ida. It's another brilliant goal from Celtic. They're in the mood this afternoon, aren't they?
the minute they leave space in behind the defence, Celtic have got players that will just play the balls all day long and cause you so many problems, and we've seen it. A perfect example there. You're right, Alistair Johnson makes Kuhn's mind up. He's still got to execute the pass brilliantly, and then Johnston's still got to pick out Adam Ida. His eyes must have lit up thinking this will be the easiest goal I've had all season, and he puts it in the back of the net.
What annoyed Jim though is that they've analysed Alistair Johnson making those runs from inside.
It was a lazy
effort to track him.
Yeah, I've been there. There's nothing worse for
Kidding on, you're running beside him.
I just went, you're man on. I think for a forward, you do get caught up. There's no doubt you get caught up in that. Johnston's automatically thinking, I know that Kuhn's got the ability to put this right in my foot, and he certainly obliged with it. Great ball in, 4-0, cruise control.
Kasper Schmeichel's watching on. The cameras are zooming in on him to see what he makes of it. Doesn't look overly impressed, I have to say, but maybe
I
that's
had his
just
phone out there. You
his
missed that when
natural
he was
demeanour.
videoing something.
Maybe tweeting us.
Oh no.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, there's another protest. Now that's not tangerines.
No.
They'd need to be genetically modified tangerines. What are they, mini footballs or something? Yeah, they'll get kicked away, no doubt. Oh, tell you what,
Excuse me, who's bringing them in the game?
they're proper footballs. Somebody's been up Sports Direct, get the Sondico basket.
That's the only place that sells
Is it
them.
2 for a tenner? The basket at the front door.
The banner says stop pricing fans out of football. Well, first of all, how much did all those balls cost? If you're worried about expenditure.
Those are two separate issues, though, aren't they?
Brendan Rodgers is now absolutely disgusted. Again, the momentum that's been broken now is Celtic, who've started the second half, scored a fourth goal. I absolutely respect the right of legitimate protest, but you can't have football matches disrupted in this way.
This one's easier, Hugh. The tangerines took ages. They're gone now, so Jack Walton's going to get us back underway. 52 on the clock.
Wait till you hear Brendan Rodgers at time up, though.
What else have they got up their sleeve though?
Yeah.
Still plenty of time left.
Yeah.
I can't. Listen, you've got a barrel of tangerines and a bag of balls. There can't be anything left.
Who's brought it all?
Cannot be anything
Who brought all the balls, and did they come pumped up, or is there somebody with
sat
a
in the
pump?
full first half?
There's also a very straightforward contradiction. Stop pricing fans out of football. They're all there. They're in.
That's not the
They're
point.
paid.
That's not the point. You've said yourself, listen, we can all go round in circles about tangerines and footballs, but any fan who wants to make a statement about tickets being too expensive is well within the rights.
But it's the form of protest.
No, that's fine. But then you just said there's a contradiction because they've paid. That's not it. They feel obliged to be there to witness their team winning a title. That doesn't mean you can't make a point while you're there.
Well, I would say that in general terms, the most important thing is you cannot have football matches disrupted.
Sure. Again, that's a separate point from the fact that they've paid the price being some sort of, barrier to making your thoughts on it. I think everybody should try and get ticket prices down.
Aren't there anymore? Is it Dundee United? You look behind that goal, they have left 52 minutes gone, they are out of there. And even the George Fox stand is emptying as well.
Yeah, it is. And Mark, we're talking about the tactics of it. It's so much harder for Dundee United to know what to do here, because Adam Ida's in the mix. So when they press high, it's gone up to him and he's just flicking it on. It doesn't find a teammate there, but it nearly does.
It's just got incredible variety in their play, and everybody knows their wee patterns, and that's why it just slightly adjusts when Ida comes on. But they all know their jobs. They're such intelligent players, and that's why they're so far ahead of everybody. But from a United point of view, this is your worst nightmare, really, if you're a player on that pitch, because every Celtic player wants a piece of the action now. They want to get their name on the score sheet, and they're in full flow. And
they want to be in the starting 11 when it comes to the cup final and the Rangers game next week. So still games, still jerseys to play for. But disappointing. I totally understand Dundee United supporters, right? Because you don't want to see your team taking a beating. But stay there and support them. They've had a great season. Top 6. I
suppose it's just a game in isolation, isn't it?
Yeah, but I just feel for them. I think the players deserve a little bit more support.
Let's just wait till the Celtic attack breaks down, then we'll give you some team news from elsewhere. Very interesting to see how Rangers approach this end to the season, because there's not a lot riding on it. Barry Ferguson giving a passionate sales pitch as to why he thinks he can still do the job yesterday. But let's see what team he's picked. Let's do it right now. Paisley, St Mirren against Rangers. Here is Andrew McLean.
Yeah, pretty miserable day in Paisley, pretty miserable day for Rangers, isn't it? Watching on as their rivals cruise to another league title, another title party they'll be missing out on. All they can focus on now is getting that takeover completed, sorting out their managerial situation and sort out their domestic form as well before the end of this campaign. Barry Ferguson wants 5 wins from 5, 15 points from 15 post-split. It'll be a tall task though, given the way they've played domestically this season, and because St Mirren have won the last 2 meetings between the sides. Only in the 1979-80 season have the Buddies ever defeated Rangers 3 times in a single league campaign. Barry Ferguson makes 4 changes for this game from the team that lost to Athletic Bilbao. It's Balogun, Yilmaz, Hadji and Czerny who drop out. Nsiala, Rice, Diamandi and Igaman come in. So it's Liam Kelly continuing in goal. The back 5, James Tavernier, John Souttar, Robin Proper, Clinton Nsiala and Jeff Day. It's then a midfield 3 of Nicholas Raskin, Mohamed Diamandi and Bailey Rice, Cyril Dessers and Hamza Igaman, the partners up top. The substitutes: Butland, Cortez, Barron, Barami, Czerny, Hadji, Curtis, McCallion and Danilo. For the hosts, Zach Hemming is in goal for them. The back 5, Ryan Alabiosu, Marcus Fraser, Alex Gogic, Richard Taylor and Declan John. It's Mark O'Hara, Caelan Boyd-Munson, Killian Phillips across the middle. Mikael Mandron and Jonah Ayunga are the strike force. The substitutes are Minsky, Iakoviti, Tanzer, Smith, Kilty, McMenamin, Idowu, Oseni and Scott.
What do you make of that, Gordon Dalziel? What jumps out for you?
I think that obviously Barry's just mixing it up a little bit. Bailey Rice back into the middle of the park. He played in the European game, got a knock. A bit surprised with Czerny. I think that he's been probably one of Rangers' successes, unless he's just looking at maybe one eye on next week's big game against Celtic, because that will mean a lot to Barry Ferguson and Rangers to beat them, because they're going to go there as the champions.
I think there were 1 or 2 unnamed players who were struggling a bit, whether that means anything, because he is on the bench, but I'm just saying that was the message.
I think that could be the point, because I think, as I say, Czerny has been a success this season for Rangers. I think he's been very good indeed. So yeah, it could be, and it could maybe just have one eye next week as well. Just wants to mix it up a little bit.
Interesting, the shape of the team. I think that's what stands out to me, because we're just so used to Rangers, even through this wee period where, you know, the 3 at the back has worked in European games, that you used to just see them playing with a 4 at the back. But 2 strikers on there, you know, obviously going a bit more direct maybe.
I think he's went with a 3 mark because of the way St Mirren will play. They'll go very direct. St Mirren have got guys up top, and it gives them a little bit extra cover. And I wasn't surprised. I said the other day I thought that he would stick to that 3, especially away from home in Paisley against a good St Mirren side.
More a 3-4-3 than a 3-5-2.
Yeah, I think obviously the 2 wing backs, we call them wing backs, so they'll be asked Tavernier and Jeff Day in the left to get really high up the pitch as well. So I think that'll be a good game. I think Andrew's in for a real good game there in Paisley. St Mirren will fancy it. There's no doubt they've won the last two. Why not?
And that's the crux of the matter. How much will Rangers fancy it? That's what Barry Ferguson has to find out, because they'll be perfectly well aware that Celtic are 4 up and are the champions now. So it could be 5 up.
And it is.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Dundee United 0, Celtic 5, and it's Adam Ida's second of the second half. The goalkeeper possibly disappointed. It goes under him as Adam Ida turns and hits it on the right foot, but it was another quick, swift move up the pitch from Celtic, and they are devastating here at Tannadice. Not even reached the hour mark yet, and it's Dundee United 0, Celtic 5. A goal made mostly by Callum McGregor and finished by Adam Ida.
And the third game in a row in which Celtic have scored 5 goals. So I'm not sure the goalkeeper looked terribly bright there, being beaten at the post like that by Adam Ida, who really didn't get all that much on the ball. But it's the third game in a row, 5, 5 and 5. Kilmarnock, St Johnstone, now Dundee United.
I'm not going to take anything away from Adam Ida, because at the end of the day he's a striker. He's there to score goals. He has made an impact. I said that at half time. He fancied it, but the two things, if you're Dundee United, defenders got to do better, and your goalkeeper, not for me.
I still wonder about the overall sort of structure now though, Mark, of Dundee United. Like, I know they don't want to necessarily sit back and just soak things up, but Celtic are counter-attacking on them and scoring.
Well, the worry with that is that McGregor takes a free kick and plays it to Hatate, and then just ambles off the back of Sibbald, who kind of jogs back, and before you know it, McGregor running at the heart of the Dundee United defence. It's wide open, and he just plays that simple pass. But you know, there's so much wrong from a Dundee United point of view there. But take no credit away from Celtic. Ida makes a good run. I don't think he catches it all that well, and it kind of just trundles into the front post area.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to let the goalkeeper off, because there's no doubt he'll be disappointed. I wonder, Gordon, if it's the fact Adam Ida doesn't catch it that maybe gets him unaware. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the defender's got to try and get a leg in as well. But look, I always think that the hardest part in football, scoring goals, as I say in the game nowadays, you've got to go and put the ball in the back of the net. So I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he's been excellent since he come on. But I think if you're looking at the goalkeeping situation, you'd be disappointed with that.
There's half an hour of this game still to go.
Yeah.
And Celtic are 5 up.
Mark mentioned the 9 word the other day about 20 minutes ago, and I stared at him if to say, what are you talking about? This could get ugly. This could get real ugly. It is ugly just now for Jim and Dundee United. It could get worse.
Thing is, you've got a bench full of players that can come on and inject more into this. You know, you made the change with Jota and Forrest, but you've still got Bernardo, Forrest, and the rest that can come on and want a piece of this.
Johnny Kenny.
well, you can't take either off, can you? You're not going to take either.
No, not a chance. He's been excellent. I've got to say, there's one or two times where a wee bit disappointed no holding the ball up, but overall his link-up play,
and he's on a hat-trick as well, of course.
Yeah,
and he might get it. Oh, it's a good claw away from Jack Walton. I thought he was caught underneath it, and there were Celtic players lurking.
It looks so easy for Celtic. Even that working it wide to get it in the box and falls to Hatate, sees it, and there is no respite. Taylor and Engels straight out there to take it. 30 minutes left. And another. How easy is that? That's Nicholas Kuhn at the back of the 6-yard box from a corner with a free header.
Dundee United are all over the place, man. All over the place. They've completely switched off. They know the game's well away from them, but they've got to be careful, because this could be a drubbing. You can't. They're not even picked up. Kuhn's standing himself in 6-yard box, and he's got a free header there. It's ridiculous from Dundee United. They've lost their composure, their discipline, everything about them.
And still half an hour to go, Hugh.
Yeah.
We were speaking about that 114 goal tally.
Now they're up to 102. Mark's mentioned already that every time the camera pans over the stands containing the Dundee United fans, there are fewer and fewer fans left. It's a bizarre ending to a game that has the league title at stake, because 3/4 of the ground are virtually empty, and Nicholas Kuhn comes off now. So is this James Forrest moment?
Yeah, no hat-trick for Nicholas Kuhn. We've spoken about this a lot this season.
Yeah,
The five sub rule has killed the hat-trick, because always attacking players tend to come off at some point, and it is going to be James Forrest. Can he score again? He's looking for that. He's going to become Celtic's most decorated player of all time today. I'm sure that will mean more to him than anything, but on a personal basis, on top of that, has the chance to score in yet another season.
The way Dundee United are, the way the goalkeeper is looking, James Forrest will never have a better chance between now and the end of the season. In the half hour that remains of this game, this is his chance to get that goal.
Yeah, he'll certainly fancy it, Hugh. I think there'll be more goals in this game. I think Dundee United have just lost every single bit of discipline they had, and Celtic smell blood here to go and add to the 5 goals, and Celtic fans enjoying their day at Tannadice.
Yeah, I bet Jim Goodwin would just like to draw a line under this now, Mark.
Yeah.
If there was some sort of clause where he could just call the game off and shake hands and move on, he would take it now, wouldn't he?
Exactly that, because like, what more can you do? You're standing the touchline there, you know, the gaps are wide open, the game's gone, you've made 3 substitutions, it's not made any difference. Of course, you just want out of there. You want to concentrate on the remaining games you've got in this top 6 to finish high up the league as you can. But again, you've still got a lot of it to see out, because who knows what a 6 or a 7 does for you mentally going into those games.
And his last goal was that day where they wrapped up the title last season.
Is that
at Kilmarnock?
Heavens. Well, I repeat, it's bizarre, but he will never have a better chance because of the way the whole atmosphere has changed. The Dundee United fans, by and large, have all gone. The Celtic fans are whooping it up, and Dundee United just look shell-shocked. They've capitulated. They're just chasing shadows now, so it's now or never for James Forrest. This is the best chance he'll have.
He's got a few other games after this, I suppose. If it doesn't happen today, Dundee United 0, Celtic 5 with 65 minutes on the clock.
United don't even look like they're pressing
anymore. No, they're gone.
You know, they're just kind of, you know, ambling about. Celtic,
but then that might be wise to not press as high as they were.
The problem is
not pressing anywhere.
Exactly, and they aren't really condensed. You know, so it's different if you fall back and you're hard to play through. They're spread out and they're not pressing. That just leads to Maeda getting the ball, going to touchline, try to cut it back, another corner to Celtic.
Yeah, Paulo Bernardo now on corner kick duties in front of the Celtic fans. He's going to swing one in. Adamida lurking. He can get his hat-trick. Nicholas Kuhn was denied his with that substitution, but Adamida might well have something to say before the end of the afternoon. I think it's Jort van der Sande who's back doing his defensive duties.
Good defending.
But it's just a one-sided affair now. No pretense from Dundee United. They've just dropped out of it altogether.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll still try and progress forward at some points, but not with any real urgency.
They just can't get it forward. I mean, you'd think the opening 10 minutes where, you know, everything was positive. They were playing in the Celtics defensive third. You know, they were winning throw-ins. They were, you know, Ferry a couple of times into the box. They cannot even get anywhere near Celtic's box at the minute. Obviously tiredness plays a part in that. When you're 5-0 down and you've been chasing shadows, it's hard to get up the pitch.
Yeah, and here comes Celtic again, although Dalziel Maeda, maybe for the first time in his life, decides to just stop and turn back and act like they're 5-0 up, because I thought Celtic actually had the chance, Gordon, to press forward there.
Yeah, it was good play. I thought Maeda was going to really just bomb forward there, cause problems, but he decided, nah, we're cruise control, we'll just keep a hold of the ball, we'll be patient, we'll wait for our next goal, next opportunity. And that's what Celtic are doing. They're just popping the ball about, and Mark's right, Dundee United are well off it. They need to go and pick up runners, or they're going to lose more goals.
Or the Celtic get bored with it all, and it ends at 5.
Well, if you'd have handed them at 12:30, 5, I'm sure, because we were sitting here and made a great case for Dundee United and saying we think it's going to be a tight game.
Yeah.
So, and it was for the first opening 15-20 minutes. Dundee United played particularly well, But the minute Celtic get that goal, they just absolutely kill you.
Still 25 minutes or so to go here. Dundee United 0, Celtic 5, but the pace has dropped out of it slightly. With that in mind, let's go to Fir Park and get team news ahead of that one from Fraser Wishart.
Yeah, it could be a nervy one, Gordon, I have to say, for the Motherwell supporters. They've got a few injury problems. They've found themselves in the bottom six, as we know. And just looking over their shoulder, I think a wee bit to the teams below them. But I don't think St Johnstone, today's opponents, will catch them. But St Johnstone know they have to go looking for wins, and they're 6 points adrift of Dundee, so draws are no use. And Simon Villacari has put out a very attacking formation, but I think just one win would settle it for Motherwell. I think 42 points would be enough for them to stay in the Premiership and avoid the dreaded playoffs. So today's a big day with the likes of Dundee at Tynecastle and Killie and Ross County playing each other. It's really hard to judge the team because both teams are ravaged at the back. I think that would probably be the 3-4-2-1 formation that Michael Vimmer likes. He could go back to the back four, but it looks like Ellery Balcom in goals, John Katrumbis, Stephen O'Donnell and Dan Casey across the back. Tom Sparrow, Lennon Miller, Andy Halliday and Dominic Thompson are in midfield, with Harry Payton and Callum Slattery behind. Tony Watt, the subs for Motherwell: Ashton Oxburgh, Stephen Seddon, Davor Dravkovsky, Ewan Wilson, Moses Debie, Kai Andrews, Will Dixon, Luke Armstrong and Jair Tavares. Instead, St Johnstone have gone for a really attacking formation again. No real defenders or central defenders, a real problem for them. The only one is Daniel Balodis, who will play with a mask on after damaging a cheekbone a few weeks ago. So Andy Fisher is in goals for them. Sam Curtis, Daniel Balodis and Sven Sprangler will be at the back. Taylor Stephen, Jason Holt, Graham Carey and Stephen Duke McKenna across the midfield, with Mackenzie Kirk and Josh McPake either side of the lone striker. Adama Sibide, the subs for St Johnstone: Ross Sinclair, Victor Griffith, Jonathan Svenberg, Uche Ikpeazu, Nicky Clark, Benjamin Kimpioka, Barry Douglas, Elliot Watt and Fran Franchak. Referee Steve McLean, VAR the experienced John Beaton.
Looking forward to it, plenty on the line there. And somehow Celtic don't make it 6. Adam Ida with the hat-trick. I thought it was a certainty that the net was going to bulge, but the ball just came across quite quickly. He couldn't quite stretch out that left leg in time, and it goes wide.
Incredible move. There must have been, I don't know, about 40 passes there, maybe even more, before it comes to that cut across. He does just reach that leg, comes off come off his knee or something.
It's all too easy, Hugh.
It's quite an embarrassing watch, I think, for Dundee United. You know that they are unable, they're boxers against the ropes, unable to defend themselves, do anything at all. Celtic are just toying with them.
I think Celtic are very good at that though now, Mark, aren't they? That's what we spoke about. We always know there's a gap, but when you're a good version of yourself at the top, that's when you get this level of dominance.
Yeah, because you just look at them, the spaces in the pitch that they fill, they stretch you, but they're that intelligent. They know when to move off you. Plus they've got the players to pick those forward passes as well. So it's exactly the position you don't want to be in if you're up against them.
Very difficult to choose a game of the day in terms of size, because everything has got something pretty major riding on it. With that in mind, let's go to Kilmarnock Ross County and get the teams from Roger Hanna.
To the first after the split this season, Gordon, and neither of these sides arrives at Rugby Park in any kind of form that would give you any confidence that they can keep themselves out of this scrap to stay up. Killie, 1 win and 5 defeats in their last 7. It's left them 9th in the Premiership table. They're only ahead of County on goal difference and just 1 point ahead of Dundee, who currently occupy that relegation playoff place. County, they've had 4 consecutive defeats since they beat Kilmarnock and Dingwall on the 1st of March. 3 away games in the last 5 as well for Don Cowie's side, compared to Killie's 3 home games here on the plastic. Don't talk about the plastic to Don Cowie though. He is very unhappy that County are still having to play in synthetic surfaces in the Premiership this season. There was a mini war of words with Derek McInnes through the week, so hopefully that'll add a little bit of spice to the game. So too could County's record against Killie. They've beaten Kilmarnock all 3 times this season when they've met, including a 1-0 win here in January when George Harman got the only goal. I'll give you the teams Killie. They keep Kieran O'Hara in goal. At the back, Lewis Mayo, Robbie Dees, Stuart Finlay and Corey Ndaba. Across the middle, Danny Armstrong, Liam Donnelly, Brad Lyons and Fraser Murray. And it's a front 2 of Bruce Anderson and Bobby Wales. In the bench, McCrory, McKenzie, Watson, Mackay Stephen, Cameron, Ramsey, Watkins, Polworth and the club captain Kyle Vassell, who has passed a fitness test and is back on the bench this afternoon. As for County, they have Jordan Amisa in goal. It's across a back five: Akio Wright, Jonathan Tompkinson, Casper Lapata, Eli Campbell and Zach Ashworth. In the middle of the park, Conor Rando, Nohan Kenny and Scott Allardyce, and a front two of Ronan Hale and Jordan White. On the bench, Ross, Brown and Phillips, Greaves, Harman and Nisbet, Ifete, Samuel and Smith. The ref is Nick Walsh. The VAR is Kevin Clancy. The rain is coming down onto the plastic pitch, and hopefully it helps the spectacle.
It is as you were at Tannadice. Still Dundee United 0, Celtic 5. Paulo Bernardo just penalised for a foul on Vichko Seville. Just Dundee United in absolutely no rush to take it, because they would rather just get this game over and done with.
But they've still got a long way to go before that is the case. It's so one-sided, it's untrue. But what a Celtic care. They're 5 up, probably 20 minutes left in this, and then back down to Glasgow for a party. I would imagine people are starting to go to Celtic Park already to wait for them coming back. The title has been won in spectacular form. There may be another goal or two in it as Luke McCowan comes on.
Jeffrey Schlupp and Luke McCowan going to come on and try and join the party. Luke McCowan, of course, played his football just down the hill before getting that move to Celtic at the start of the season. Rio Hatate coming off. Has he been back to his best in the last few weeks, Mark?
Outstanding, I think. But that's the complaint from the Celtic fans, that he'll go through purple patches. Half a dozen games been top notch, and then he'll go off the boil a wee bit. So he has to find a level of consistency that lasts through a season. But he's a brilliant footballer to watch, and he's been excellent again today. And McCown's didn't start the season by scoring a penalty here in the Dundee derby, and then finishes up by winning a league medal. Quite an incredible season for him.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I echo what Mark's saying there about Hatate. He's such a talent. Some of his passing is incredible. He was another one. Celtic fans had a little go at. They expect so much, and I think that's a compliment, because they know what he's capable of. They expect so much of him, and he's certainly in these last few games he's really produced. He's been excellent, and that's what you've got the luxury of bringing on decent quality players. If the Celtic squad, and they'll be looking to make an impact, because we keep going back to everybody wants to play probably next week at Ibrox, and everybody certainly wants to start the Scottish Cup final.
He goes.
Yeah,
Forrest,
good tackle though.
Great tackle.
Oh no, the first foul has been penalised. James Forrest was on a mazy run and got brought down. The speed at which the picture at left back has changed. Mark, Jeffrey Schlupp coming on for Greg Taylor. Clearly the number 2 right back coming on for the number 1 left back. Sorry, and it wasn't that case a couple of weeks ago.
You know what? I was never in any doubt about it. I get the interest in Schlupp. I was always Taylor. I was, and I says in the Champions League games as well, I thought against Bayern Munich, I thought Taylor would have played and Schlupp played away. Schlupp came in, did a job. I don't think he was going to be the long term fix. Maybe took a bit of pressure off Taylor. Taylor's certainly the better of the two for me.
James Forrest trying to get his goal, but tried to fire it through a ruck of bodies, and it hit some tangerine socks.
Yeah, I'm sure all the Celtic fans are behind that goal, trying to wall the ball in for James Forrest. It was interesting there, because I think that Taylor does come in for a little bit of unfair criticism at times with Celtic supporters, but he's certainly been terrific signing.
Seeing games like this where you need to outnumber the midfield and pin them back and allow your front guys to stay up against the fullbacks, and Taylor's ideal. Taylor is made for games like this. I know it's easy to say now at 5-0, but how many times he's done that at Celtic Park? Okay, in the bigger games when you're playing Champions League, maybe.
It's the physicality, isn't it?
Yeah.
That people tend to speak about. There's Jeffrey Schlupp, won it back, got it into the box. Paulo Bernardo blazes it over the bar. That was a decent chance to make it 6.
It's not his real strong point, Bernardo. More a provider than a scorer of goals. But one might come along before the end. We've now got 15-16 minutes of this left, but Dundee United just going through the motions.
He's another one who'll be desperate to make an impact when he come on. Bernardo's not seen a lot of game time.
There's a great stat on the television at the moment where in the final 15 minutes of games this season, Celtic have scored 23 goals. The next best in the league is Dundee United, funnily enough, on 15. So that would suggest that there could be more in the Celtic team today.
Yeah, well, that Dundee United start, you remember they went through that period of scoring last minute winners and equalisers, but this Celtic team are relentless, and it feeds into the 5 substitutions, doesn't it, for Celtic, when they're bringing such quality on that all want to fight for their place, so they keep that intensity up. So it's certainly still danger in this for United. I know the pace has dropped out a wee bit, but guys like Bernardo and Ida will want his hat-trick, and Forrest will want his goal. So it's going to be more one-way traffic coming their way.
You would never have imagined it ending this way, given the start of the game that we had. It's now, you're wondering just how did we get to this? But that's not Celtic's fault. Celtic have got on with interruptions to the play, whatever, recovered from Dundee United's good start to the game, and for the third game in a row they've scored 5 goals, so they're doing fine.
Let's get the team news from Tynecastle, because Hearts Dundee is huge as well. David Friel is there.
Yeah, it's huge. Gordon, really looking forward to this one. I think looking at the table, you'd probably think there's more riding on the game for Dundee, but that isn't really the case. As you say, Hearts sit 7th. It would clearly take a major collapse for them to be drawn into a relegation fight. However, I think after recent events, this does feel like a big one for Neil Critchley and his players. Hearts have been really busy making statements off the pitch. In the last few weeks, Chief Executive Andrew McKinley apologised to the fans for failing to make the top 6. They then followed that up by calling out John Beaton with a statement this week for his red card decisions in last weekend's Scottish Cup semi-final defeat to Aberdeen. I felt Willie Collum dealt with that very, very well yesterday, and I think if you ask the Hearts fans, they want to see statements on the pitch, not off it. With a budget, their squad, the talent they have at their disposal, they should never be a bottom 6 team. However, Hearts just simply haven't been good enough. I think Neil Critchley is under mounting pressure to start delivering wins, especially over these final 5 games, if he is to stay in his position. Let's be honest, Dundee at home is a game Hearts should probably be winning. They've beaten them in the last 3 meetings, scoring 11 goals in the process, and the Hearts fans arriving here today will clearly want more of the same, and if it goes badly, I think the Hearts fans are never slow to let their manager and players know all about it. Hearts, however, do have big issues in attack. James Wilson is suspended after his red card against Dundee United a couple of weeks ago, and Lawrence Shankland hasn't made the squad. He's injured. As for Dundee, they're in a fight for survival. As I say, they're sitting in the relegation playoff spot, just 5 points above St Johnstone. Tony Dockett is a match winner, and Simon Murray, touted for a Scotland call-up, potential Player of the Year candidate, but they've lost 71 goals in 33 league games, and therein lies the problems. I'll just run through the teams for you. Hearts 4-3-3, Craig Gordon in goals, Adam Forrester, Frankie Kent, Jamie McCart and James Penrice at the back, Cammy Devlin, Benny Beringamy and George Grant in midfield, with Sander Khartoum and Blair Spittle supporting Elton Cabango. Subs for Heart are Fulton, Kingsley, Halkett, Neuenhoff, Steinwender, Forrest, Danda, Dramit and Vargas. As for Dundee, it looks like a 3-4-3 formation. Trevor Carson in goals, back 3 of Antonio Portales, Joe Shaughnessy, Clark Robertson, Ryan Astley and Ziad Larkish on the wings, with Josh Mulligan and Lyle Cameron in central midfield. Scott Tiffany and Seb Palmer Holden will support Simon Murray. The subs for Dundee are McCracken, Riley, Fraser, Ingram, Robertson, Silla, Samuels, Cometio and Donnelly. The referee is Ross Hardy, and nobody seems to know who the VAR officials are, but I'll find out for you soon.
Hugh Keevins is on his way. There's one man that has the combination of skills required, a great grasp on technology and real ownership of the running of Scottish football. It is him. He'll be down at Clydesdale House very soon.
VAR, very average reporter.
Can you imagine it? Honestly, that would be, because it's quite something to see. Like, see the number of screens and buttons, and it's quite a multitask effort that goes into it. The thought of you, oh wow, that would send shivers down the spine. Anyway, we'll get the final piece of team news very soon.
How do you think Willie Collum would feel?
Yeah, I think his heart would be in his mouth. For some reason there is no record of who's on VAR at that game today, but anyway, I'm sure he won't lose too much sleep over that, unless Hearts decide that they don't like that.
I'll tell you, big day for Neil Critchley. Following events of recent times, he couldn't lose that game today, or there would be real trouble at Tynecastle, because I think David Friel is absolutely correct. The pressure is mounting on him, and as a club the pressure is mounting on Hearts. Far too much talking, not enough action. Bottom 6, out the cup. A defeat to Tony Docherty today, real trouble.
Well, it's not got any worse for Dundee United yet. It's still 5 with 82 on the clock as Alistair Johnson gets down the right hand side. This time the cross isn't good.
It's another great run from Johnston. They just opened Dundee United up, and it's probably his poorest ball of the day. and it's clear, but Celtic are just, they're taking their time, they're patient. If another one comes along, I think they're delighted, but just now they're in total cruise control and totally got this game wrapped up.
Just in case anyone really does lose sleep over these things, it looks like it is Callum Scott on VAR at Tynecastle. Andrew McLean seemed to find that really quickly on a very official looking website, so a lot to be said about David Friel's research skills, if you ask me, but we'll leave that one for now. James Forrest on the left foot, but it's blocked.
It's basic stuff there from Celtic. And Ida's feet, who's just holding off the defender on the 18-yard line. You know, you don't often see that level of ease to play a 25-yard pass straight through the middle to Ida.
I don't know how Jim Goodwin I don't know how Jim Goodwin sums this up. I'll be fascinated to hear his post-match interview about what happened.
I do wonder if it's a continuation of Derek McInnes's thoughts on it a few weeks ago, where he sort of said, I don't know how we handle Celtic when they're in this mood. And I know they didn't start that way, but for that kind of middle section of the game, they were at it, weren't they?
Oh yeah, but I've rarely seen a match where the league title can be won kind of peter out in this kind of fashion. You know,
it's just like that is like last season. This is what Celtic did. They went to Rugby Park and blitzed Killie, and I think it's that there is that appetite from Celtic there, Gordon.
Substitution? Oh
no.
When they get into these positions,
the minute the first goal goes in, you can see them just lifting the pace, their movement, everything about it. And I agree with you. I think that you analyse it, if Celtic play at their top form, they're going to score goals and they're going to open you up. They've got quality players. So I think as much as Jim will be a bit disappointed with some of the goals, he'll look at it overall in a season, and they've had a great season. Top six was a fantastic finish. Look, there's still a chance there to finish third, but I think you've just got to take your hat off, say on the day Celtic were just too good.
Still time to add more, but Dundee United will be hoping to just see this one out now. I'm not sure 5 feels like any sort of victory, but if they can keep the door shut and know that it's not going to get any worse and not in truly embarrassing category, the jump from 5 to 6 is huge, Mark. Everybody knows that. 5's like a normal football scoreline. 6 isn't, is it?
6, no, certainly not. I've been there before myself, and you can see a 6 certainly coming.
Well, here we go, and it's somehow hacked away. Celtic did flash the ball across. Was it Dalziel and Maeda?
Yeah, tries a little flick, and I wonder if, you know, Ida or whoever else that was there could have been on their toes just to knock
here
it
go
in.
Celtic again approaching the box. So for
Callum McGregor,
very unlike Callum McGregor and Alistair Johnson, but it does find Maeda, who can't control it.
I think we're now bored.
Yeah, especially when McGregor gives the ball away.
Celtic are minutes away from being confirmed as champions, so let's give you team news ahead of another mammoth clash. This one Aberdeen against Hibs, and Dave Galloway is there.
A big crowd is going to pack into Pittodrie this afternoon, Gordon, for a huge game. Like you say, it could have a major say on who wins this thrilling race for third place. After booking the place in the Scottish Cup final, Aberdeen are looking for a really strong finish to a roller coaster campaign that's seen them scale the heights and plumb the depths. It has the feeling of a must-win match, with them trailing Hibs by 3 points. Hibs come here on the back of 3 straight wins. What a wonderful run they are on. Their only defeat in the last 20 games coming against Celtic in the Cup last month. Holding that 3-point advantage over the Dons' victory this afternoon would put them almost out of reach of their hosts with just 4 matches remaining. The scene is set for a cracker. Let's look at the teams then, and Aberdeen are unchanged. So it's Meatoff in goals. Across the back, Jensen, Dorrington, Knooster and Shinnie. The sitters, Clarkson and Palaversa. Then it's Morris, Gay and Keskinen, with Nisbet leading the attack. The subs, Doohan, Devlin, McKenzie, McGrath, Polvara, Dabag, Ockles, Milne and Boyd. 3 changes for Hibs. In come O'Hora, Bowie and Campbell. Out drop Miller, Hoylett and Kuharevich. So it's Smith in goals. A back 3 of O'Hora, Bushiri and Iredale. Midfield, Chris Cadden, Triantis, Levitt and Obita, with Campbell playing off Boyle and Bowie up top. The subs for the Highbees today: Bursic, Ekipiteta, Mane, Nicky Cadden, Mariah Welsh, Hoylett, Gale, Whittaker and Kuharevich. The match referee here is David Dickinson, and on VAR duties, Gavin Duncan.
Looking forward to it greatly. We're only minutes away at Tannadice as well, and I'm sure, as Dave has been alluding to, the size of the game between Aberdeen and Hibs, they know Dundee United have been battered here, and there is a chance for one of them to gain an advantage in that battle for third. But 87.5 gone, Dundee United 0, Celtic 5. It is a matter of time today and across the season. It's been a matter of time before Celtic win this title. I just wonder, any room for one more, or does it stay at 5?
I think it stays at 5. Celtic just passing United to death, but 3 games in a row, 5 goals, albeit one was a Scottish Cup tie, but that's 15 goals. What can you say? Up to 102 league goals for the season. They're just waiting now for the whistle to go and the party to begin.
Celtic have so many men stacked in appropriate areas, Mark, that Callum McGregor, I think, overhit that pass right over the head of Alistair Johnson, but it still goes to James Forrest.
By design, Gordon, they fill those spaces well. So if that does happen, then you've got somebody to get on the ball, and it stretches your opponent. But Hugh's right, Celtic just try to keep possession. Probably the scoring's done at 5, if we're honest, but it's been an outstanding performance.
Not if Dalziel and Hugh does get anything to say. I can't really imagine him slowing down too much, although he does. He's showed a different side to his game today. He's come back to Jeffrey Schlupp, the referee, Don Robertson, showing nice footwork to jump over the ball.
We're just surprised he's not scored today.
Who, Don Robertson?
No, Maeda.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, because he's been in banging form with the goals, and when you see Celtic usually scoring 5, he's usually amongst the goal scorers.
Do you think this could be what sort of torture would we have to apply to Fraser Wishart to get him to reveal, not necessarily today, my goodness, I wouldn't expect that, but in the coming weeks? I've not met one single person, not heard one voice who doesn't think Dalziel Maeda will be Player of the Year. Do you think it's going to be Fraser's most one-sided vote he's ever had?
Yeah, and I think it's our duty to put Fraser under a little bit of pressure.
He'll take that to his grave, won't he?
Do you think so?
Oh yeah,
he's an absolute professional.
But I'd love to hear the person that you're describing tell us why it's not Dalziel Maeda.
That's what I mean, and it's no disrespect to anyone or anything like that, and it just sometimes the circumstances go that way where players maybe have like half a good season or whatever.
There's not an argument to say he couldn't get it. I think he'll win it by a country mile. It's the easiest choice probably for a long time.
Anyway, we'll work on him between now and the next coming weeks. I think in the next few days we'll find out the short list of who joins Dalziel Maeda. Is that the way you're looking at it on the list? Everyone's got it sewn up for him, but you never know. Here is James Forrest. Can he eventually
left foot,
he should have hit
it.
To
be fair though, are we putting too much emphasis on this? That's not a chance. That's not even a chance that he had there, but we're all acting like,
well, I think it's a half chance. I think when that ball drops to him, I think he goes with his left foot. Put it this way, if that had been on the other side and it was on his right foot, I think he's having a go at that.
I think he has done well today since he's come on.
He's been excellent.
I mean, once again, that's Carter Vickers. He's fired that into him straight down the middle, and he holds it up and just bounces it off to Forrest. He's done that time and time again, as well as score his goal.
3 minutes added. No one's in any mood to hang around. Not actually too many delays in the second half anyway, have we? Yes, there's been the usual substitutions, but there's been next to no drama, and that's because it's been a straightforward afternoon all round. 1 or 2 delays in the first half. I suppose there was in the second, but it was a very quick one in comparison. And we're nearly there. We've played 1 minute, 2 minutes to go. There are hardly any home fans left. Why would you want to hang around and watch another team party on your pitch? I suppose.
I wonder, in Paisley at 3 o'clock, and the Rangers fans know that Celtic have won 5-0, are the champions, have equalled Rangers 55 titles. Just wonder what the atmosphere would be like there.
Actually, I was interested in Barry Ferguson's response yesterday, because you know the self-preservation bit that fans will do, Hugh. They will say, Rangers fans, I'd imagine, would phone us in right now if they couldn't say, doesn't matter, we've known this day was coming, forget it, move on, next season 49ers Enterprises. I think Barry Ferguson could have taken that option yesterday, but actually he kind of went quite in on it and said, I hope it hurts. It hurts me, and I hope it hurts that this is the day that it was officially wrapped up. So
Barry has also publicly declared that he would like to be the manager and hasn't given up hope of being the manager, so he needs a proper result today.
James Forrest thought about it
on
the left foot, but you're right, Mark Wilson. Adam Ida's hold-up play has been very good, hasn't it, since he entered?
And I don't think the Dundee United backline have had much help for their midfielders, coming back on his toes. He's just holding them off, stopping the ball, linking. It's been a good afternoon for him.
I think Celtic got a little bit lucky. I know they were 1-1 when Jota went off, but he's brought so much to getting Celtic up the pitch. He's holding the ball up, his movement's good, he's causing problems, and it allows runners from the middle of the park and the wide areas to get round about him. And I think it's actually fitted into Celtic as full-time whistle.
No, not yet. Brendan Rodgers is just dishing out the high fives.
I think he's
early.
A bit premature. He's winning 5-0 and he thinks he's got the title right.
Only 15 seconds to go, but I was a bit confused myself there. I thought we had decided just to wrap it and get everyone up the road 20 seconds early.
I'm away in the bus,
but not quite. We're nearly there. Celtic are passing it about, and that is that. Here's Gabriel.
Dundee United 0, Celtic 5. Brendan Rodgers' side are champions once more, and you can hear the fans singing it around this stadium. Celtic 18 points clear, they cannot be caught. Rodgers is on the pitch with his players. He says that this is a golden era at Celtic, and he's not wrong. The numbers are incredible. Their 55th league title, their 4th in a row, 13 of the last 14. They've won 21 of the last 26 trophies available in Scotland. Rodgers winning 11 out of 12 he's competed for domestically. They are now just one win away from another treble, which would be their 6th in 9 seasons, Gordon. The game itself, well, United started brightly, but a tangerine interruption, a protest against ticket prices, halted that, and Celtic kicked on from there. An own goal from Ryan Strain opened the scoring before 2 first-half strikes from Nicholas Kuhn were added to by substitute Adam Ida in the second half, himself bagging a brace. The result means United drop to 5th due to a big dent in their goal difference. Their battle for Europe will go down to the wire. But Celtic were so good today, and they have been all season. They've scored 5 in each of their last 3 games. Celtic fans doing the huddles in the stand from about the hour mark. They're going to stay here for a while and serenade their players who are celebrating on the pitch. The other 2 stands nearly empty. United supporters not staying around to see this party. The celebrations will start now. They'll shortly head back down to Glasgow, Gordon, and will not stop until the Scottish Cup final at the end of May, where the treble is on the table. Celtic champions once more. Full time at Tannadice, it's Dundee United 0, Celtic 5.
Yes, congratulations to Celtic for wrapping up the Scottish Premiership title. We'll get reaction from Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon Duncan and the full Clyde One Super Scoreboard team when we return.
The fastest goals, the expert opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard podcast with Trywire.com. Save like a world-class keeper. Get a great price on your next car.
Don't miss the fun and have a dabble with your digital dabbers at takeabreakbingo.co.uk. B-I-N-G-O. With hundreds of top games like Fluffy Favourites, Deal or No Deal and Clover Rollover, a great community to chat with, and free to enter prize draws every Wednesday. What's not to love? B-I-N-G-O. Start the fun at takeabreakbingo.co.uk. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleWare.org.